G'day and welcome to On The Esky, an Aussie sports podcast where we like to wrap up the week, or a few weeks in this case, that were in sport. Today's show unofficially brought to you by Capital Brewing Co. Nice, cool, refreshing ales from the nation's capital. We've got a plethora left over from your wedding. So
might be sponsoring the next 2 months worth of podcasts.
That's right, we'll try to get through a few this afternoon. This week's show, where the World Cup finished a couple of weeks ago, so time flies, but Argentina are the champions of the world. We will brush quickly on that. Does Messi cement himself as the GOAT? Plus the EPL is back, as well as the other big European leagues. Cricket, we rule. South Africa stink. The last time we kind of potted, we were thinking, well, geez, it's going to be a closely fought summer. The number one and number two test teams in the world doing battle. South Africa had won on their last 3 series down here, but a very different story this summer. We're currently watching what's likely to be a draw at day 5 there in Sydney. Plus, we'll briefly touch on the other cricket matchups around the world, plus the final week of the NFL regular season. The Chiefs have clinched the first seed in the AFC. Jags clinched the AFC South. NBA starting to heat up. All-Star voting and All-Star game upcoming, plus a final round with a bit of fight news, PGA and tennis. We have timestamps. You can skip to the sports that you like if you're a complete nuffy. List of the whole damn thing. Check us out on the socials, and you can use the promo code ESKY for 20% off at Carlton Draft. DRAFT for some of their merch. 2023 is here. The Esky is back. How was your break, Shauno? We like to start off by shouting a beer. How was your break, and who will you be shouting a beer?
Good. It was a good break, as always, to get away, spend some time with family. And I think it was probably worthwhile for a lot of people because our shout out beers, especially for myself and James, and I guess the start of 2023 hasn't been real great.
No.
Mine, Franco Harris was probably the first one. He passed away just before Christmas, just before they were going to retire his jersey as well in Pittsburgh. So a Hall of Famer there. Peyton Hillis, currently in intensive care after trying to save his children from drowning.
Yeah, horrible story, that one.
Yeah, exactly. And then the main one I wanted to do, of course, was Ronnie Hillman, who was the Denver Broncos leading rusher in 2015, the year they won the Super Bowl. He passed away after having liver cancer at the age of 31. So
young.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit of a rough start and a bit of a bit of sadness, of course, to kick off their Esky, but a lot of great sporting legends there in their own right. And, of course, coming off a great gathering of family members and friends and family, it was probably worth mentioning and remembering some of these legends out there doing what they did.
Franco Harris, for those unaware, an NFL legend, running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He passed just before Christmas at the age of 72. One of the most famous plays in NFL history, the Immaculate Reception. Play on the Immaculate Conception, birth of Jesus, etc. Pregnant off the toilet seat. Don't know if they
Allegedly.
I don't know if they had toilet seats in those days. Anyways, I digress. An absolute legend of the game and a Hall of Famer, and Pittsburgh fans around the world will miss him, and Ronnie Hillman, way too young. So for you as a Denver Broncos fan, those fond memories of Hillman tearing it up in that year and the few years around that, he'll be sorely missed. Yeah,
definitely. And we'll get to, they're all NFL guys. We'll get to Hamlin in a little bit.
Yeah, a crazy week in the NFL.
Big time.
But it seems like he's okay. So we'll get to that when we chat NFL. Monk's another sort of passing, an homage, a beer in the honour of who?
Yep. So for me this week, it's going to be Ken Block. So unfortunately, he passed away in a snowmobile accident earlier on in the week. It upended and fell on top of him.
Yeah, crushed him.
Yeah, so in his own right, probably a racing legend, not so much due to his accolade in terms of winning races, but just
extreme motorsport.
Extreme motorsports, yeah. So co-founded DC Shoes.
Yeah, I didn't know that, hey?
Yeah. So I think all around just like sort of that extreme sports, X Games sort of scene, I guess. And then obviously built up his hoonigan brand with his race car, drifting and all that sort of stuff. Some of those early YouTube days of him drifting around cities and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, created a huge brand.
Yeah,
the
no,
last
definitely.
decade.
Definitely, yeah. So, shouting him a beer or his family a beer,
in
and
the memory.
think of all of them during this tough time.
An absolute massive name in the world of action sports. I was surprised. I didn't know that he founded DC Shoes. I think most Aussie kids can sort of remember back to the skate phases of the mid noughties. You know, Tony Hawk doing a little bit Pro Skater 2 kind of shit, running around in the skate shoes. For your mufti day, your uniform free days, or if you're lucky enough to go to a public school, just wearing them every day, I suppose.
Exactly, yeah.
But Vale can block.
Sorry, also just one more point on this, just using old Wikipedia as a source of truth. In September, he had signed a deal with Audi to a joint project on the field of electric mobility. So as much an innovator in the motorsport as anything else as well, just trying to take that technology to the next level as well. So, will be very sorely missed.
Vale can block. I'm going to try to lift the morale a little bit, I suppose. 71-year-old Prabodh Malhotra, he walked from the MCG to the SCG to raise money, I believe well over $50,000 for the Jane McGrath Foundation. Took him 52 days, if you don't mind. I think Ned Brockman ran across Australia in less time, which is pretty crazy when you think about the year that Ned had. And then Paul Prabodh, and the weather in Sydney we'll discuss in just a minute. He walked all that way to go to Jane McGrath Day and it got fucking washed out. But you can't control the weather. He did a good thing. Nearly 2 months of walking up the Hume Highway. So well done to you, Mr. Malhotra. Have you got a current update on money raised?
For Jane McGrath?
Jane McGrath was in the millions.
It was 3.5 yesterday. Schumann's probably pushing 4 by now, but they've done an excellent job by all accounts.
And Mr. Malhotra was 50 grand when that article got printed, which was about 5 days ago. So that may well be sort of pushing 100,000. Mop of the week, we also like to talk about a silly thing that's happened in the week or the few weeks since our last podcast. And this week, an interesting story out of the African Football Confederation and the Cameroonian players building on IM12 chat from a few weeks ago. Turns out their whole under-17s team essentially is not under-17. 32, in fact, 32 of them fail age testing. And it's interesting how they do this. They do an MRI of the wrist and it can show within 99% probability what your age is. And it turns out none of these fucking guys are under 17. So after that young bloke who kitted out for some middle school team and had tattoos and about 8 kids graced the internet a few weeks ago and his mustache and the rest of it. Similar kind of story going on over there in Cameroon. Anything from that article that sort of stands out? Or it's 32. So the whole squad.
Yes, pretty much the whole squad. Apparently, it's fairly systemic for Cameroonian football as well. Yeah. It happened back in 2017. They had 14 players fail the test for the under-17 side. So it's something that's just been happening. Apparently, Guinea got disqualified back in 2019 after 2 of their players.
2?
So
that's barely scratching the surface of cheating.
That's it. I suppose it might depend on the varying of age. Maybe all these guys like 19, 20, and they fit in, whereas the Guinea team might have had like some 25-year-old players. Don't know, but I don't know. Apparently, just real systemic sort of thing.
Systemic cheating. Watch that Icarus during the week. Have you guys seen that on Netflix?
I don't think I have.
Russian
doping?
State-sponsored doping. Won an Academy Award. Brian Fogel is the director. Very, very interesting watch. Seems like the same thing going over there in Cameroon in terms of state-sponsored cheating.
Yeah.
All right, boys.
All right.
Give us a...
Podcast proper?
Yeah, give us a...
No! That's the wrong one. Wait.
He had one job. There we go. We're out of order, so we'll let that one slide. But the World Cup, it did finish nearly 3 weeks ago, but we haven't had a podcast since then. So I think we will just sort of wrap up the World Cup. Obviously, Argentina winning it on penalties. How about that FIFA simulation?
What did we work it out? It was the last. Was this one 5?
I think 4. I think 4 now with this one. 2010, 2014, 18, 22.
Yeah.
So FIFA is better at predicting things than the bookies are, and you know, life is a simulation, etc., etc.
Yeah. And I guess what a World Cup, probably the best final I think I've seen.
Yeah, I'd agree. So, I'd agree.
Just theatre of it, getting the lead, and Mbappe, bringing them back, carrying them the hat trick, going to pens as Jimmy correctly
Did you pick this? Did you say Argentina on pens?
Yes, he did.
Argentina on pens, yeah.
So,
How do you put your fucking kitchen shed on it too?
I wish I had.
I wish I had a kitchen shed. A kitchen sink even. Kitchen sink.
Kitchen shed.
Shed
that builds kitchens, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know.
Depends on how rich you are, I guess.
This is our second kitchen.
What the fuck's it in the shed?
The kitchen shed. Kitchen sink. Yes. I agree. Probably the best World Cup final, ostensibly. Obviously, we're not old enough to remember anything sort of pre-1998, but definitely the best in recent memory, other than when Italy won in 06 and Zidane headbutt, etc.
Yes.
Messi, he scored twice, 23rd minute pen and in extra time as well. Argentina were all over him in the first half. Angel Di Maria slotting one home after 36, and then the second half was the Kylian Mbappe show. We're sort of at the end now, the twilight of the Ronaldo-Messi era. We're going to talk about them in a second. It's definitely the time of Kylian Mbappe now. He won the Golden Boot, and so for most goals in the tournament. I think... Can you see how many World Cup goals he has? He's like only a few behind Miroslav Klose, who played 5 World Cups and has the record for World Cup goals. So Mbappe's 23 and has played 2. So if I was a betting man, and I am, I would think that Mbappe holds that record for most World Cup goals come the end of his career or come the next World Cup.
Yeah, if he maintains the form and the work that he's been putting in now for the next 15 years, easy.
Well, he could become the GOAT of World Cup. He could become the GOAT of soccer.
Yeah,
but I think he's going to get that World Cup record handedly. Yeah. He's just a step quicker than everyone else as well. It's very unusual to watch the world game and it being played at this level, and guys like Mbappe and Messi just being that head and shoulders above anyone else on the pitch. It's really, look, you feel privileged to be able to even be witness to it. I think it'll be one of those ones where we're granddads, sitting on the porch, get off my damn lawn, and talking about the times of Kylian Mbappe and Lionel Messi.
Yeah, well, we talk about Messi and Ronaldo as their longevity. It's now, Mbappe, he's got all the talent. He just now the accolade. He's got nearly all the accolades already. It's just the longevity, and he's will probably go down as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, soccer player of all time. It's definitely in his wheelhouse to be able to do. And I guess maybe that ends up with a question with that current debate. And I've definitely seen a lot of English fans kind of change their tune and say, Messi is the GOAT. After he's ticked off the last accolade, the difference between the two of them.
Well, the big thing
between Messi and Ronaldo is that he's won a World Cup and Ronaldo hasn't.
Yeah, Ronaldo did have that European Championship, and Messi didn't have that until in the last 18 months. He's now won a Copa America and won the World Cup. Look, that's definitely some notches on his belt. I think I said a few weeks ago, look, you can always argue the point. Yes. I don't think this settles anything, but it definitely does go advantage Messi.
I think the feeling straight after the World Cup was, Messi's GOAT. I think you give it another couple of years when they both kind of retire, and then you're looking at both resumes, we're back into the debating argument.
The recency bias is massive, isn't it?
Exactly.
You watch Ronaldo tear the shit out of people at Champions League level and his accolades, through his Real Madrid career and just seeing the physical capabilities of him, obviously through the air and the power that he possesses, probably superior to Messi's. But in terms of how good Messi was at this World Cup and how integral he was to Argentina, looking at them on paper, they shouldn't have been good enough to win this World Cup. You wouldn't think
they're a good team. Yeah, I'd say if you're looking at paper, France was always going to be France or Brazil. Were the best two teams.
Even like on paper, Germany, Spain, but
you
the Netherlands, like in terms of big club,
But I guess, and you look at that, Messi's played 26 matches, the most of anyone on that goal scoring list they've got there. we are talking about the last Messi World Cup, so probably. I don't think he'll go around again for a fourth one because he'd be in his 40s.
He'd be 39, so I don't think he's ruled it out.
Yeah.
But anyways,
but
short term,
but I think, the feeling probably for Argentina was this is the last, if we're going to win a World Cup with Messi, it's now. So maybe there's a bit of extra juice there which elevated their game, and they play excellent throughout. So James did bring up the list there. Messi with 13 goals is equal fourth. Mbappe with 12, just one behind, is equal sixth with Pele.
So he's only going to get 4 to equal Miroslav Klose, 5 to go past him, and he's 23. Yeah. You'd imagine.
Look at these. 1 to equal Messi and 2, 3 to equal Ronaldo currently. So.
Yeah.
And he's probably
Ronaldo, Brazil.
He's definitely going to play in at least 2 more World Cups, probably 3.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd think he chases down old Miroslav there. Just going back to that Argentinian team on paper, no one for Argentina plays at Bayern Munich, Barcelona, Real Madrid.
Yeah, none of the big clubs. I think
and they've got guys at Juventus, Inter, a few United guys. As a United fan, what does that mean anymore? a few at.
They've been all right.
They've been pretty good. We'll get to them in a sec. But not star-studded throughout. Say like France is.
Yeah.
So again, sort of testament, I suppose, to how good Messi is, and a lot of these younger Argentinian players probably this World Cup's done their futures are solid in terms of getting signed by the per se bigger clubs.
Yeah, agree.
I suppose that's it. Like without Messi, does this team win a World Cup?
Fucking no chance. Nah. And that's why, like, when you look at him and the way that he elevates his teammates.
How many goals did he score in this World Cup?
6?
Yeah.
I think he was second to Mbappe.
Yeah, you take him...
Maybe 7. I think half of them were pens.
Yeah.
But still, can you chase
You got at least one hat-trick, didn't you?
No, I don't think he got a hat-trick. I think he had multiple braces, but it was Mbappe 1 and Messi 2 in terms of goal scorers. Yeah. Obviously, that gets skewed to the teams that make the
finals, like more games, etc. Yeah.
But they just look head and shoulders above the rest. What do we think of the World Cup in general as an event? It ran very smoothly, and shout out to the Qataris. Obviously, we'd spoken a lot sort of in the lead up around, corruption and, for us welfare of the people building the stadiums.
Well, I guess the thing for us as viewers, we only saw the in-stadium action. We didn't get a lot to see what happens outside of it and anything else that's going on. So, not to say that there was, other things happening, other stories that, of course, doesn't get seen.
That Croatian fan went all right, hey?
Yes, she did okay. If
I've won a null.
Yeah, if only they'd won, because she made a bet.
What was the thing? It was
she'd get a kid off.
Flash? Was that?
Yeah, she'd get a kid off if they won, but unfortunately not.
Unfortunate.
So, I think the actual the football side of it, the actual games being played within the stadiums. Once I got into finals, actually having full stadiums of real fans, the final, especially with half Argentina, half France, like they were fully engrossed in that game. I think that's kind of where they wanted it to be, and it was a great spectacle. So I think in the end, from the actual sports side of it was really, really good. Yeah,
I think. We spoke about the final being the best in recent memory, if not ever. The whole tournament was pretty cool. We had upsets in the group stages. Not everything went to script. There was a lot of games that went to extra time and penalties throughout the knockout stage. Again, a few upsets. The fact that the Aussies had probably their best World Cup performance.
Yep. A few smokies, it had everything. So
I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it.
Stages, definitely, yeah.
Let's talk about Emiliano Martinez. We spoke loftily of Lionel Messi, but he had a lot to do with Argentina winning the cup, and he had an unreal save in both the penalties and also at the death there. He ended up getting a World Cup Copa del Mundo tattoo on the shin that he made the save with, but he'll probably most famously be remembered for his lewd celebration after winning the Golden Glove. Making the so long gay boys kind of Mr. Chow gesture, if you will. So that's a little bit funny. I don't know how respectful that is to Qatari culture, but I thought it was hilarious, and has really come up with a few of the great photos. And there was a mural. Were you saying in Argentina? A big someone's painted that on a building.
Yep.
I hope
As if you wouldn't.
Yeah, I hope there's a speech bubble with, in the Mr. Chow voice. So long, gay boys. If you don't know what we're talking about, just check it out on YouTube. Quite funny there. Just a lad winning the World Cup. Apparently he's done it with other trophies. Have you said that?
Yeah, I think I've heard stories about it. I don't know what trophies. But yeah, apparently this isn't his first time.
Well, he's at Aston Villa, so I can't imagine he's won that many trophies. I'm assuming with other clubs.
Yeah, must have been.
Fucking funny.
With other Argentina.
And we spoke about the mural in Argentina. How about the scenes in Buenos Aires? He's like...
Yeah,
we are ants, dude. Millions of people lining the streets, climbing up those big obelisks.
Yeah. Well, they couldn't get the bus through, so they had to take all the boys off the bus and put them in on helicopters.
You see Messi too pissed to drive himself home as well. Like
even trying to get in the front gate.
So good.
So many people up the front. So.
Oh, that's so funny. Even the goats like to celebrate a World Cup win with a few scooey moi mois.
Yeah. Oh, they have to.
I don't know if I sent it to you boys. I saw a compilation of flashing in the streets of Buenos Aires, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then a few abuelas, if you will, in Spanish, the grandmothers, also thinking it being a momentous occasion to show to show a little bit more than probably we would have liked to have seen. But a very, very funny video nonetheless. And look, you got to go back to '86 with Maradona, and obviously now all these comparisons between Messi and Maradona, and who is the greatest Argentinian football player of all time, let alone the greatest footballer of all time. So yeah, I think a few of those abuelas are probably channeling themselves back in 1986. Funny. Argentina as a whole, I think Tagliafico and Otamendi quite good at the back. They're getting on a little bit. Have both played at a few big clubs. Otamendi obviously at City for quite some time. That they were good. Alexis McAllister, who's at Brighton, the massive club that is Brighton. I thought he was pretty cool. He's an Argentinian. He's called McAllister. He's third generation from Scottish immigrants. And Enzo Fernandez winning the young player of the tournament. He was very good. I think Julian Alvarez as well. He's 22-year-old. He's at Man City. We won't hold that against him. I think he'll be very, very good moving forward. He was probably maybe Martinez has something to say, but probably their next best player after Messi in this one.
Yep.
Oh, Salt Bay. Yeah. How do he get out there? He's sprinkling a little bit of salt.
Yeah. If this had been a couple of weeks ago, he would have been a decent mop for trying to, I guess.
He was FIFA and corruption and
he was a paid actor.
But he evaded security is what I was reading. Okay. That's what I was reading.
So I guess
he's not even Argentinian. So
he's Turkish.
I
believe. Yeah.
So he was just there, just doing his promotion, just trying to get around the winners, and they wanted nothing to do with him. So
some of that.
Yeah, Messi quickly trying to get rid of him.
Depends what he's sprinkling. I think after a World Cup win, if he was sprinkling something else, maybe that.
True. But it was Messi, not Maradona, so
very good from you.
Yeah. I think the big thing with this as well, though, him actually getting his hands on the World Cup as well. So
that's wild, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually in the rules and regulations of FIFA that only
the players and
foreign dignitaries, like world leaders, can
touch it.
Can touch it, and like you said, players and ex-players. So how he got onto the field, how he got his hands onto. The trophies,
If you have no idea who we're talking about, fair enough. But essentially, a Turkish chef. I think he owns places in New York, and essentially, this is
some pretty bad. Oh no, his restaurant, I think, which was really big in Turkey. He's opened other ones in New York and the US, which have really struggled. He kind of ranks in there probably with Liver King a little bit as Instagram kind of. Personalities.
At least he didn't lie about doing steroids when you're obviously doing steroids the whole time.
Well, is it actual
primals?
Is it real salt?
Well,
what's the salt that he uses?
Is it real steak?
Yeah, performance enhancing salt.
It's just MSG.
Allegedly.
And it speaks volumes to how the human mind works in 2020 odd. I suppose he rose to prominence probably just before that. That sprinkling a little bit of salt in a funny manner over a nice steak. Those steaks do look tasty. Look, I will admit that.
Can't go past a good tomahawk steak.
Yeah. And I suppose he's pretty handy with the knives, but that's how he became famous, old Salt Bay. I think we've spent too long on this.
Let's move on.
Messi, GOAT? We sort of alluded to it before.
Alluded to it. We kind of said how he equaled and then passed Pelé as well in goals. And Pelé, another...
Passed this week?
Yes. Another massive sporting icon leaves us.
Age 82, played 92 games for Brazil, 77 goals. How about 700-odd club games? And never played in Europe. I didn't know that about him. You know, these days, you wouldn't actually hear of a Brazilian that never went to go play in the big leagues in Europe. Played heaps of games for Santos, and then finished up with the New York Cosmos after that. But I think he played like 600 odd games and had 600 odd goals for Santos. So just scored at will. And passed during the week. So 2023 off to a bit of a sad start, I suppose, in passing of legends. Obviously, we can't really weigh in. We never saw Pelé. We've only seen highlights of Maradona. And the Messi Maradona comparison goes hand in hand. All we can do really is go off Messi and Ronaldo and who we've seen in this modern era.
And I think for Pelé, it was the beautiful game really essentially started with him, and a lot of the famous moves that you see a lot of guys do now were things that Pelé would do on a regular kind of basis. Like, kind of added that finesse and creativity into the ball movement and the way he handled the ball. So. He is a massive legend. Back to your question. Let's just finish off with Ronaldo. Did sign his deal with Saudi Arabia, with Al Nassr. He will get paid fuckloads of money.
Do you want to break that down?
Fuckloads of money into, what was
Makes
it, 350?
We're talking numbers.
AUD, so 350 million per year, 26 per month, 6 per week, 36K per hour, $10 a second.
$10 a second. $10.
Might be a bit quicker.
$10. $10. Mississippi.
Oh, well, at least you get paid $50 for a go with your missus there. So, I
don't know what that.
5 seconds. So anyway, $50, 5 seconds.
Okay, I see.
Quick and over.
I don't last well in bed.
Yes, exactly.
Sue me.
Pepsi's on that Ronaldo money.
It's the best $50 I ever spent.
If you ask me today, I'd pick Messi. If you ask me in 2 years' time, I'll probably debate it.
Yeah, that's recency bias. And what happens in the next
talking about Mbappe?
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, that is true, and that's maybe a conversation for 2032, God forbid. But in 2 years' time, Messi could go around again. He could win another Copa America. Like, he's obviously still at the top of his game, whereas Ronaldo is coming off the bench and obviously falling out of favour with his Portuguese teammates and his coach as well.
And he's now playing a league where he's getting paid money.
And it was all for cash. Like, I can't imagine what it's like to be offered that kind of money, so I probably can't even weigh in.
Yeah.
But the fact that he was in interviews last year saying that he wants his legacy and finish his career with dignity, and he's not going to go to there's interesting in that interview. He said he's not going to the MLS, he's not going to Qatar or the Emirates. So he did actually he came through with that. He didn't lie. It's a bit iffy. It's still a bit iffy in terms of legacy and dignity and the rest of it. But if you're getting 26 mil a match, Jesus, can you say no to that?
I suppose your perspective changes. Like, that was over 12 months ago. Everything that's happened at United since then probably has made him a little bit disgruntled, a little bit.
Even on a family level, man, like losing a kid, that changes your mentality. If you want to say, fuck it, I don't care. I don't care anymore. Give me the money. I can't put myself in his shoes for even on that. Plus the international scrutiny and the rest of it. So it's hard, I suppose, to appreciate on that level.
Yeah, final contract. His thing is 3 years. He plays out the 3 years.
No, it's 2, I think, is it not? Can you chase out that contract? I thought it was. I think it's just for 2 years, but he's 30.
Maybe it was an optional third.
He's 37, so
but
so
still the same question.
You'd think it's his last contract.
And with that sort of money, he was just like, well, yeah, if I'm thinking about retiring.
It's a shame for fans of international football.
Yeah.
Like.
So how many
with
golden
respect,
toilets do you
Saudi Arabia, I don't. You know, you haven't knocked us off yet for bagging you guys, but the last place. Not the last place. There's several places that I wouldn't have liked him to end up. Again, in China, that would have been obsolete. You know, you saw Drogba and guys that go and finish their careers there. You know, and take the money. And again, you know, hats off for doing it. But as a fan of international football, and the pinnacle of that is Europe. You just kind of think, well, you know, I don't give a fuck about Saudi Arabian football. You know.
No one does.
Yeah, no one does.
That's why this team had, I think, like 500K followers, and now they've got 5 mil. So
yeah, like that, and that just goes to
that's the reason. That's why they've paid.
Money, exactly.
They've paid for the league building aspect more than probably his capability. Like they want to get eyeballs and the growth of the team.
Saudi football.
Yeah, Saudi football. So Ronaldo would do that in leaps and bounds. But I think for now, I'll stay put, and I think. With that statement, you know, Messi's my current GOAT. Let's talk about it in a couple of years. Like you said, maybe that 2026 World Cup, we're assuming Ronaldo won't go around because he'd be
41, whereas Messi will be 39. So it's not impossible.
So both those guys could be gone.
Big Pepe going around for Portugal at 39.
Yeah, well, it could be the
like
Mbappe show is where I'm going. That could be where it ends up. But anyway. We will see. Actually, funny story about Cristiano Ronaldo. The guy that was playing in 7 there wouldn't give it up, so they released him.
Yeah, I saw that. That's the most Saudi thing ever. Yeah. Lucky you didn't get beheaded. Edit that out.
Ronaldo, sorry your jersey's a little bit bloody, but here you go. Why has he got bullet holes in it?
Oh, we had to make sure. No. We love our Saudi brothers.
Yeah. He got paid out.
Yeah. It was a golden handshake, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was just
smart for him.
See you later.
This jersey belongs to me.
That's a payday. Yeah.
2-year deal, 3-year deal?
2.5 years. Sorry.
We're both right. We're both right.
Yeah, I think it was the end of because they're
halfway through the season.
So it's the rest of this season and then the next 2 seasons.
Interesting.
There you go.
For the Parramatta Eels Saudi contingent. Yellow and blue.
Do a quick EPL wrap up.
Yeah, so the Premier League's back, as are all the big leagues in Europe.
Can you grab us a table, Jimmy?
Yep. Yeah. If you wouldn't mind. Arsenal were 7 points clear. They're 5 points clear now, given the games overnight. There's a little tidbit for you. No team has been 7 points or more ahead come New Year's Day and not won the league. So there's half a season, a little bit over to go. So that bodes well for Gunners fans. Caveat, I suppose, in terms of games played, that there's probably less games played at this point of the season than there would have been in prior years, given that there's been a 6-week World Cup right in the middle of the season. But who would have thought that the Gunners would be 14-2-1?
Not after last year.
Yeah, no. They've had some good signings. Martinelli and Odegaard have been unreal through the middle for them, and it's going to be interesting. Can City chase them down? My word, they can. I think they definitely can. They currently sit 5 points behind. They just got over Chelsea 1-0 during the week, whereas Arsenal had a little slip up in terms of a 0-0 draw to Newcastle United, and that oil money's doing them some good, isn't it? They're sitting in third.
Not a heap of wins, but they're not losing.
Well, they've only lost once. Only lost once.
8 draws for them. So.
And United there had a good win over Bournemouth during the week. They're sitting fourth.
So can you make that bigger, Jimmy? I was just wanted to see what United's recent run of form was, because I thought they were like 7-1 since they changed coach.
Yeah, under Ten Hag. I saw some graphic, and Ten Hag's first 8 games or whatever, his record is better than like Pep Guardiola. They had like heaps of big managers, and his first 8 games, Klopp was one of them. Yep. So in terms of starting his tenure there at United, he's done very well.
So which way do you read it? Did they lose recently, or
they've won 4 in a row,
and then got City next? So
how big is that?
That's a big game,
and that's next weekend.
Yeah.
So the big Manchester derby there. Liverpool lost to Brentford during the week. They've been a little bit unders. What's going on there? It can't just be the departure of Sadio Mane.
Chelsea.
Yeah, Chelsea 10th. Yucky. And speaking of yucky, Everton, keep scrolling, brother. Keep scrolling to find them toffees. They are currently in the relegation zone.
Hey, West Ham.
They've never been. Oh no, I don't know if never, but it's been like 70.
I think we looked this up. It was
75 years or something since they've been out of the top flight. So that would be massive if they were to drop at the end of the year.
And did West Ham finish 5th last year?
Yeah, I think they were 5th or 6th maybe.
6th, yeah. Now
they played well.
17th. Very, very close. Equal points there with Everton at the moment. So, yeah. The Wanderers in Southampton. Wow. Nottingham Forest. Safe.
For now. There's also from 13th, which is Leicester, to 20 there. There's only 5 points separate them at the not even halfway mark of the season. So
rest of the game, really.
Still a bit to go.
Yeah, a lot to go. Should we talk some cricket at long last? Hit that button.
We've already played it once.
Yeah.
Australia and South Africa, day 5.
Give us a call.
This is going to be interesting. What have we got here left? An hour and a half. And we've got 19.2 overs. So you'd think the draw is the most likely option here. But, 2 brings 3, 3 brings 4, etc., etc.
Nathan Lyon was very unlucky a couple overs ago. Had him plumb. Was going to hit middle stump. The umpy didn't give him out because it turned for about 2 feet because he landed away out in the rough.
They didn't review?
Yeah, no, they did review, but umpire's call on the pitching. So, yeah. So they were a bit dirty on that, but Hazelwood did the job an over or two ago to get their second wicket, but still need another 8 in the next 19 overs. Looking very, very difficult.
The big sort of talking point, I suppose, was the changes to the team. So Starkey and Greeny both out with those broken fingers. Greeny's looked quite bad, the X-ray, getting around.
Broken. And I think a big job by him. I think he faced like 150 balls.
With a broken
with a finger, like completely broken through. Like we're not like a little fracture or anything. It's like we're talking proper broken off.
Some Dr. Sean's?
Yeah. Dr. Sean's, yeah.
And in your expert opinion?
I'm just trying to explain what the X-ray looked like. It wasn't like a little fraction.
It was big fucker.
Yeah, it was like fucker. Yeah, it was all the way through. All the way through.
We should get like a lab coat and stethoscope and shit. Your expert opinion. But yeah, ostensibly you are correct. It was a nasty break, and I think he's said line through the big bash. Poor thing, and we'll have a look at maybe trying to get right for India.
Yeah, India is end of February.
Yeah, and I tell you what, we'll get to the IPL in a sec, but he'd want to be good for that.
Yeah, he'd want to be good for the IPL. So 6 weeks is probably okay for a break.
Yeah,
of a finger. It's not something you'd put weight on.
You're the doctor,
so. Yeah, I'm 6 weeks general for bone healing.
4 to 6 weeks,
I've broken a few. I know how long they take. So, yes. So, I guess the selection there because of those injuries to him and Stark. And then
Hazelwood coming into health.
Dropping of Boland.
That's what happened. Like. That's what happened. He got dropped. Yeah. I think it's like, as soon as you make up that you've got to go horses for courses, pick 2 spinners, prep for India, etc., and that's the game plan, then you have to pick your 2 best quicks. And I feel for Scotty Boland. I've loved watching Scotty Boland. The bloke's averaging 10.
Yeah. But I think my concern, I guess, is maybe the like for like. If you're trying to replace Green, say, with Renshaw, it doesn't make sense to me. Green with Agar made more sense, and then you get your spin option. But I guess they wanted to have 2 specialist spinners and 2 bowlers that they have the extra bat, and that's what they're, again, like you say, practicing for India, trying it out. I just don't think, and the way this game's played out, the picking of Renshaw is probably not really needed.
It's future thinking, though.
Yeah, yes, it is. It's hindsight.
Because, hindsight's going backwards. It's foresight.
No, I'm thinking in hindsight would be the way, because we now know that after it's happened that he batted fuck all. He really didn't get to play. That
in terms of this match situation. I'm with that.
It made less sense to pick Renshaw and instead of maybe you play Agar there and then you have Boland in your team. So
I'm with you now.
And then you have the 3 quicks. But I get why it was. I probably would have stuck with Boland just because of the summer he's had. He's played well, but the loyalty, don't lose your position due to injury. I can see that thinking as well.
Well, then that goes to the chat as well. Is it the game plan, and do we want 2 spinners, or is it our best bowling attack?
Yeah.
Because if you're picking your best bowling attack, you can't tell me with a straight face that Ashton Agar is more valuable in this team on this deck than Ashton Agar is. Ashton Agar obviously going to give you a little bit with the bat.
Bro, he's got the better average.
Well, yeah. No one in Test cricket
no one's going to be bowling on that.
Has a better average. But yeah, obviously they're looking forward to India and really a trial game for Agar, because there's a bloke called Mitch Swepson who will probably be licking his lips at the sort of lack of wickets taken by Ashton so far in this game, and he'll be putting his hand up for India. You'd think they want someone that spins the ball away from the right-hander, so both of them are going to give you that. Again, if it comes down to a tiebreaker, I suppose Ashton's ability with the bat might separate him from the likes of Mitch Swepson.
Yeah. And, I get why they've made some of the decisions in this game because of that, for being it is a dud rubber in this series, and India is the big one coming up.
Massive,
and they're prepping for it. But yeah, questionable. I guess the fan favourite that is Boland, and after the summer he's had so far, it's a bit unfortunate he didn't get a gig.
Yes, spawned a few funny memes, that's for sure, him getting left out. I hope that they take him, they will take him to India, and then with the Ashes, sort of 6 months away, could you imagine Scotty Boland on an overcast day in Birmingham,
that was going to be
fucking hooping it around?
That was going to be my follow-up question to this. If this is a prelude to the Indian squad, would your preference be Hazelwood in India over Boland, and then maybe more Ashes with that the way he bowls in that pace and the heavier kind of ball? Maybe that in England would be better for the Ashes for Boland. So
I agree.
Horses maybe a little bit.
Well, it's got to be. They're going to pick
and health.
They're going to pick 2 quicks for most of the games in India, and you'd think that it's going to be Cummins and then
drop the captain
and then Stark versus Hazelwood. And unfortunately, if Stark's healthy, Hazelwood may miss out. They also, I don't know, it's too far ahead to look at grounds and the rest of it. They may go with 3 quicks, and you'd think it's a 3 established Australian quicks. So Scott Boland essentially is not going to play a test match in India, you wouldn't think.
Barring injury, etc.
Barring injury. Yeah. However, Scott Boland has a place in this team moving forward. When you think about England and next summer and the rest of it, he's just been way too good to leave out of the conversation. And it's a really stark contrast, if you will, to say some of the sticks that have been trialled in the Australian team over the last few years, a la Marcus Harris and the rest that haven't really taken their opportunity. Boland said, fucking drop me. Do you know what I mean? Like he's not given them a reason based on his performance to think otherwise.
No. So let's, I guess, hope they make the right decisions for the right pitches and the right opposition.
I'm looking forward to India now. We've been so good through this series, but it's such a different kettle of fish over there.
Yep, agree.
Did we talk about the rain before? No, we haven't.
No.
So washed out completely was Jane McGrath Day 3. Rain affected Day 1 and Day 2.
Most of Day 2, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
So how's this? In the history of Australian Test cricket, there's never been a washout at Perth. That's fucking crazy. There's been one at Hobart. You have to think they probably only play once every second summer, once every third summer. Adelaide's had 2. Then Brisbane and Melbourne are 8 and 9.
Yep.
And then Sydney is 24. I don't know if that includes the other day. 25/26 washed out days. So
I think it included the other day because I saw a following stat on this. Manchester had 24.
Yeah. So Sydney is wetter than Manchester at this time of the year is probably the caveat. Pretty crazy, hey? Yeah, to think that it's 3 times more than the other venues. And I don't know if your old man's from Queensland. It can get fucking wet up there. Melbourne's wet. You'll get 4 seasons in a day. It's pretty crazy to think that it's 3 times more washouts than those 2 places.
Well, I guess for Queensland, if we put on Weatherman Sean now.
just let me quickly change out of my lab coat and come back out in a circle. Maybe wear the lady Sean in a nice sort of form-fitting.
I've got the booty for it. So.
Indeed. Yeah. Maybe a little bit up there too.
So, like the Queensland weather is, your evening storm, your late storm. It's usually an hour, and you get it over and done with. So you're not likely to get a whole day worth of rain. Whereas I guess for Sydney, you get the coastal rain, it blows in, and then it just settles on the city and it rains. It's not heavy; it just drizzles all day, and you just get it until something comes along and blows it back. From west, blows it back out.
But that's exactly what it was. Especially day 2, it wasn't hammering down. It was just that constant annoying kind of drizzle that.
And they played through a fair bit of drizzle as well, to the credit, because otherwise there'd be no cricket. But it had been a little bit unfortunate. It is, I guess, the weather this time of year in Sydney is a bit like that. I know a friend of the Esky Steam was saying they should move it, bring it down to Canberra. We've had lovely weather over that time frame. So
it tends to be a little bit drier.
Yes, it does.
Alice Springs at this time of the year is going,
we're dry as fuck over here.
It's 48 degrees every fucking day.
We'll have to play it underground over there. So, which would be an interesting sight. But...
it's thinking outside the box here today, aren't we?
Yes, it is what it is. If you're going to play at the SCG at this time of year, you're going to have that be a part of it. I guess it didn't infect the game too much last year. It just rolls around.
Meteorology aside,
lucky this game was a dead rubber. Otherwise,
imagine if this was deciding. They go into this 1-1 and it's deciding a test series, and you get a really sort of lackluster finish. Thank you. Foxtel/KO. First test Nagpur, second test Delhi, third test Dharamshala.
That's 9th of February. That's a month away.
Yeah, it's not far. And then fourth test Ahmedabad.
Probably misses that first one.
Ooh, Dr. Sean.
Diagnosis of 4 weeks. It'd be close.
Dr. Sean. It's a finger. Fuck me.
But was it his bowling hand?
I think it was, yeah.
So
does he need to bowl that much? Well,
if you pick
again, that's going to weigh into his selection. If you pick 2 quicks, he needs to bowl, doesn't he?
Correct. He might miss the first one. I think he'd be good for the second one. That was on the 17th. So
have you seen that ground at Dharamshala? It is fucking scenes. It's like at the foot of the Himalayas. I believe this might be Mayo, but the Buddha might have been born there. Not sure. Very zen. It's a very zen kind of place. Would love to go watch some cricket there. February, Northern Hemisphere, probably be pretty cool there actually as well. Mm-hmm.
When's their wet season start?
Fuck if I know, man. I know it's different because India is quite a sort of north-south running country. So what happens in the south of India is obviously very different to what happens in the north.
All right, we'll be safe.
But we might just leave the medical degree and the meteorology degree away, and we'll keep the Indian geography out of this session.
Well, we'll preview, I guess, that India team and that tournament in a week or 2 time. I'm a bit closer.
That's not far off, is it? No. Start of Feb. Let's talk about this test. So after a rain-affected first few days, Australia make 4 for 475 against a really quite solid pace attack. I've been very impressed with Anrik Nokia in this series. Bowls absolute wheels. I think Dave Warner said it's the fastest spell that he's ever faced. Mm-hmm. So that speaks volumes to where that bloke's at. But look here, given these conditions, the boys are scoring runs for fun. Warner, the only one to miss out in this test, coming off 200. Smudge 104, Spoon one back to the bowler after making his 100. Marnus and Travis Head continue their good form with 70 odd each, and the Usman Khawaja show 3 tons in a row at the SCG. You remember back to last year's Ashes, scoring back-to-back hundreds at the SCG after a bit of time in the wilderness. Makes 195 not. Day 3 gets canned, so you come into the morning of day 4. Australia declares with Usman on 195 not out. Do you think that they should have let him go out and have, say, 2 overs to get you 200? I believe Warner, Labuschagne and Smith all made double hundreds this summer. Mm-hmm. Or do you do the team thing and say, look, mate, we've lost that much play. We want to win test matches. I know it's a dead rubber, but, foot on the throat mentality. You seem to think it was a little stiff on Usman. Was that your thinking?
Yeah, I think on Usman, and probably in 40 odd years' time, when Usman's sitting down with his grandkids, and he says, you know, I almost made
on his grandkids.
Sitting down with his grandkids.
With?
With
Okay.
his
I
grandkids.
heard with.
Okay.
On as well if they're really misbehaving.
Yeah.
You know.
Hey, come here, you little
Yeah,
shits.
yeah. The walls of Jericho.
Yeah, and he's there, you know, saying, I almost got 200. And they're like, why didn't you, Dad? And he's just like, fucking Pat Cummins. No. That wouldn't be the scenes. But
Of course not.
it's probably is like, if you get to that point where you're almost going to double up, and it's a very rare kind of occurrence within cricket. He hadn't done it before. Like, I think you give him the opportunity to be able to do it. I know Usman's decision would have been like, do the team think, hey, I want to
100%.
Yeah, like, I understand why they did that decision.
Yeah.
It's always going to be, you know, the team first over individual accolades. Like, I can always see that. But in a game that's reigned most of it, you know, potentially could have reigned some more, being Sydney, and you know, a day and a half left to take 20 wickets, looking like it was never going to happen. Give him a couple overs, see if he can get, you know, send him out there for 2 or 3 overs, and say, hey, get you 200 quickly, and then we're going out. I don't see why he wouldn't do it.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here and disagree. If they had gotten on straight away, it might have been a different story yesterday, but they lost so much time.
Well, I think if they had more time, I lean the other way. I think it makes more sense to declare if you get 2 full days. But since you lost the morning session, you like get 1.5 days. It was never going to happen. It was this match
bullshit.
was always going to end.
They beat him in 2 days in Brisbane.
Yes, but
you have to have that mentality.
We're playing a different pitch.
Yeah, well, it was very green. That's true. But you have to have that mentality. You have to have that confidence. I suppose. Look, World Test Championship. I think we can lose all these games against India. We're still going to play in the final. But
New Zealand have been eliminated, and I think Pakistan have been eliminated from that as well. Like, I don't think it's a dead rubber of a series. We've already won. We're practicing to get to India.
I think it's a fucking test match.
Let Usman get his 200.
I think so.
We're never going to win this test match.
They could.
Well,
There's 15 overs left. All right, what happens? They take a few here, and it finishes 5 or 6 down, and you think, oh, imagine if we had another half
3
hour.
overs. We had 3
No, because you lose the changeover, so there's 15 minutes. So
it's 3 overs, you lose in the changeover. So it's 6 overs. All right. Sorry.
In time, it's half an hour to 40 minutes.
Yes. Well, they say it's 3 overs in the changeover. I think that's what they were saying on commentary the other day.
6 overs. If you've taken 6 for and you've got this South African tail,
it's never going to happen. Never going to happen.
The thing.
I disagree.
The thing that has surprised us in this test is South Africa's tail. They've actually
wagged. Yeah,
yeah. They wagged in their second innings.
That's my point. That's never going to happen.
Well, you kind
the
of
fortune teller, meteorologist, fucking cardiologist. Orthopedic surgeon.
Yes. It was never. They were never
fortune teller.
They were never.
That'd be a good kit. Lab coat, like a mole, and like fucking bandana and shit, like an old gypsy. What was the other thing? Meteorologist. Oh yeah, and tight, something tight. Look, we're gonna have to agree to disagree on this one. And you know what the deciding factor would have been? Usman, knowing how good a bloke he is, would have been saying, "Let's do the team thing. I don't give a fuck. Let's go skittle these
Let's go for the
blokes and take 20 wickets in a day."
I'm just advocating for Usman, and when he in his 70s, when he goes, "Fuck, I should have got that 200,"
and he goes,
I should regret it.
Look, kids, I don't regret it because it's just 5 runs and it's just a number, and I had a fucking good time with my boys.
Yeah.
I won a test championship.
And I won a test championship.
It's a long game. It's a long game.
And then I went and scored 200 in India the fucking next week. So next month.
That's the hope.
That's my fortune teller.
Let's hope it doesn't end up in regret.
That's it. Yeah.
That's my thoughts.
Outside of if Harman Maharaj didn't bat the way they did,
it's a different story.
Completely different story. We could have easily probably rolled through them.
So South Africa made 255. Maharaj had 50 odd, and how much did Harmer have?
47.
And they were wagging. So when they were 6 for not much, last night the boys probably would have been backing themselves to take 14 wickets today. But it doesn't seem as though it's going to eventuate.
Yeah, and I think in the concept of preparing for India, they wanted to bowl a lot anyway. They wanted to see what we've got in Aiga. We've talked about the trial and that. Like, you can see why the decision was made. We fully understand it. So and that's the way it's going to go. But we will see 15 overs to go. They've got to get 8 wickets.
Just briefly back to the MCG because we didn't pod during the holidays. Davey Warner, double 100. We missed the bold. I had a bold prediction going into Brisbane that Warner gets the metaphorical monkey off his back. He does so in smashing fashion down there in Melbourne, cramping up. A lot of was kind of said around the celebration into the cramps 5 minutes later, but he got his just desserts. I think so much has been said post Sandpaper Gate around his form and where does he belong in the Australian 11. I think he's one of the best openers of all time. I think his stats, back that up.
You can't pick anyone else to be in that squad.
And there's no one banging down the door. That's the difference, isn't it?
Exactly.
If Marcus Harris had done it,
if Renshaw's the best that's banging down the door at the moment,
exactly.
There's no
one was banging down the door.
There's no one going in that 5.
And the Australian public has fucking amnesia. They only it's like goldfish. Yeah. There's a bunch of goldfish running around there going. What? Sack Warner, drop Warner, blah blah blah.
Bro. Sheep, listen to those down.
Yeah, sheeple. Look, we're not turning this into a vaccine discussion. However, it shits me to tears. Yes, the bloke averaged 20 odd last year. Yes, he had the monkey on his back. He's a fucking great cricketer, and he just said in that innings, 50. Look, played like I did and slashed a little bit, and that's how I've gotten out recently. 100, thank you, deserved. 150, 200 was fuck you, pieces of fucking garbage sitting on your couches that couldn't fucking face one ball and want to tear the bloke apart for his bad form. And it was, admittedly, it was bad form, but I was very happy to see it happen.
Yeah, but it was only like a downturn of form. It wasn't. Systematic that we've seen in the past. Yeah.
Everyone goes through it. Mark Walker dropped, good players get dropped.
My one disappointment in his innings was when he came out the next day after recovering, to loud applause, and everyone's like, yes, David Warner's coming out, and then he gets bowled first ball.
That was a weird ball.
It was a scene. David Warner was like, oh, fuck, man.
It kind of was a seed, but it kind of it was essentially a full toss on your pads, but it fucking moved. It
wasn't what David Warner was expecting.
No,
for sure.
Yeah.
So anyway,
that was essentially Melbourne. When Australia's doing well, we
were there.
When the Dragons are doing well, we. The Australian cricket team absolutely pumped South Africa down there in Melbourne, and a really good result for David Warner and the boys in that one. Boys, the Big Bash has been running of late. I don't know if I'm getting old, old man shakes fist at cloud or whatever. I was a big fan of the Big Bash in its early days. Mm-hmm. I think after this, in this lull period between this Test match and India, I'll probably get right more around it. After a long day of Test cricket, you can only hog the TV for how many hours? Well, I just don't care that much right now.
Yeah,
with respect.
I think even in between the two Test matches, in your Christmas, Christmas to New Year's shut down, looking for something to watch on the telly, and you're just like, oh, there's nothing on free to air because it's all on KO, and then you're flicking around trying to find a Big Bash match. Even so, you're just like, oh yeah, I haven't really been paying that too much attention to it, and I think that New Year's Eve match, I think, was the largest crowd they had in 4 years or something. They got 40,000. I believe it's in Adelaide. So
the crowds have been down, and Adelaide and Perth always very good for getting around their teams.
And I guess the big story coming out of that is they're going to shorten the season by about 20 matches. So I think they've listened to everyone that it's too long, it drags out. Condense it. Let's make it a summer holidays thing. Get all the kids around it. That's the point. Kids in cricket, get them interested, and show it in that period over there, and try to play around the Test matches as best you can. And I think they've done an okay job, but like you say, there's still so much cricket left to go. And there's another 6 weeks of it, I think, to an actual final.
It's about that,
a final. There's, again, you watch all the Test cricket, there's probably no point to watch a lot of the BPL until this point now, when this finishes up. You can watch it going into the final series when the matches matter a little bit more.
What separates the IPL, other than the fucking billions of dollars, what separates the IPL from the Big Bash?
Well, maybe time period as well, when they play it.
They're
not playing it over when the national team is playing. You don't have Kohli playing.
If they started the Big Bash, say, end of September, and it was done, and then you go into your Test series.
When does IPL start?
April, and it finishes in June. And
what? No, I'm thinking of the World Cup. Sorry. Yeah,
I think the only thing you've got to compete with, I suppose, is footy finals.
Yeah,
and I think we've said this before on the podcast, but for anyone listening from India or from elsewhere, September is massive down under for rugby league and Australian rules football. That finishes by the first week of October. Mm-hmm. So if you said, okay, footy's done, and then the next week of October, that's when the Big Bash starts, and you pump out your tournament in a nice condensed sort of 8-week format, and it leads into your international series of cricket, and you have all your Australian stars playing, for one. I think that's a big thing.
You need to have
and for two, whoever's touring that year might go, oh, well, you know, say it's South Africa and the West Indies, oh, well, they'll all play in the Big Bash. Yep. I think that makes for a completely different perceived level of interest.
When was the first test played?
This year?
Gabba?
No, the Windies. The Windies was
Perth.
Was Perth. It was maybe like November 20. I'm sure you can chase that one up.
Yeah, maybe I'm thinking you shift those two. Maybe you play those in January, like you play the one next week.
You can play them after.
Yeah, I suppose. So you play more in the summer. You're still finishing before school holidays ends. But that way you can fit in your whole tournament over September, October, maybe even middle of September into middle of November, and then you run straight into the Australian.
I'm glad you mentioned school holidays, because that's the other thing. That's the counter argument is, well, all the kids are still at school, and essentially,
and if you're trying to play
with respect, it's children and casual people that enjoy
that's the target
the Big Bash.
That's what they want to get
with respect.
Yeah.
Maybe they're thinking, oh, the kiddies are at school. Yeah. We're not going to get the same crowds.
Yeah, which does make sense considering they play the whole final series during the first month
they're back at school. Yeah, back at school, aren't they?
So I think the condensing it is the right decision. They're going to play it in the school holidays by the sounds of it. Mm-hmm. It might be first week of school back that they actually play the final, but it's condensing it down a little bit. But it still doesn't solve that problem of you're going to have the Australian versus whoever playing series over the top of it, and that's always going to take precedent.
That's the big thing, isn't it?
For hardcores that really watch a lot of cricket, that's where they will go, and that might distract from the amount of promotion you get as well. Especially the big thing, you're missing the 11 best players in Australia not playing in the Big Bash League.
Yeah, that's what separates the IPL. Is it's April, May, the IPL's on. There's no fucking big international cricket on. Every single big player wants to be there, and obviously that's financially motivated.
Yeah, and you think of the Indian team, a lot of the guys in that team are then like the captains of the individual Indian team. So like they go back and they're does that count as a run?
If he gets his foot down, which he doesn't, that's very interesting.
He did hit Nathan Lyon there, which I think again builds up the mystique. Like the best, the Indian team, the national team, the guys are back here being the captains of the various Indian squads. Like it creates a better storylines and spectacle. So
I mean, Big Bash still has like their sort of, I guess, the tier 2 players, but you'd still have your marquee players, like you're looking at Chris Lynn, like.
Yeah, there's still a few good names getting around.
I think the big problem
you're not going to get anyone that's in the Australian team proper.
Yeah, but the big problem is you have the exact same channels.
Because of the timing.
Yeah. You got the exact same channels having a directly competing league play over the top of it, which is going to get, the more viewership. So
yeah, I agree 100%. Imagine, Steve Smith's going out for his Sydney Sixers tonight, and Pat Cummins is, I think it changes the dynamic a lot.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, if you don't have it in that window, say like Pakistan's playing New Zealand at the moment, and we luckily with the advent of the Big Bash draft, there's been a few sort of Pakistani New Zealanders that are in there. But anyone that's playing Test cricket right now is not playing. So I don't know.
Yeah. And the more I think about it, even if you shift it though, is that too much cricket for these guys? Do the Australian guys start saying, "Hey, I need a break so I get ready for my Test series," and then they miss out anyway? And
also a good question.
I for whatever reason, I feel like the Big Bash is losing / dying, hence why they're trying to change.
I wouldn't say dying, but if you look at the crowd numbers, it's definitely dwindled, and COVID was a big thing.
And compared to all the Indian leagues popping up all over the place, like it just feels like it's struggling. Let's go, not dying, struggling.
Well, we're talking about the South African league that's been sort of proposed moving forward, and it's all going to be backed by IPL teams, so it may become a world kind of like the soccer, I suppose, where you've got Melbourne City and New York City who are offshoots of Manchester City.
Yeah,
you may have the Sydney Capitals who are an offshoot of the Delhi Capitals and the fucking Durban Capitals and the rest of it.
As a market comparison, is South Africa a much larger population than Australia?
Population, yes, but financially, I think we're better off.
Do what matters, bums and seats, or
TV? Well, if anything's to go off in terms of chasing the money, that's the TV deals that are your biggest thing.
Yeah, just spinning some cogs of would the Indian leagues come and buy, say, the Big Bash League to kind of convert it into their thing, to add it to, I guess, their Indian Premier League,
their repertoire.
Yeah, exactly. They have one every
few months. You could have
exactly you could have
year round.
T20 year round, just different tournaments in different parts of the different hemispheres, different parts of the world.
I don't think that's an inconceivable idea.
Yeah, my problem is I just don't see how the Australian league fits into that. I think we'd be
how does it work
little brother, little sister, and get kicked out. That's kind of my concern.
It's also Cricket Australia owns the Big Bash as well, so for them to sell out,
do they sell it?
I don't know. The more that the older I get, the more that I realise that money talks.
Yes.
I suppose how does
if
that
they walked
work,
around and was like, here's $1 billion, they'd be like, fuck yes.
Yeah. Because you'd obviously have players who play in the Big Bash, then would go across the IPL.
Or play in any of these other leagues.
How does it work? Do they retain? It's going to be interesting to see how this South African league works out, because apparently, half of them are backed by.
I think all of them are backed by.
They all are. They all have an IPL
six teams, and they're all
IPL teams.
What was the other one we were talking about probably 3 or 4 months ago? And then we're like, all those teams are also backed by Middle East.
The Dubai one.
The
Emirates one. Yep.
Emirates, that's right.
So
Yep.
they're already buying out the Emirates, and they've already buying out in South Africa.
Yeah, well, that's 3 different leagues. So, that covers probably 6 months of the year already.
Yeah. It's a weird time, isn't it? The other sort of things that happened in the Big Bash League this week, that Michael Nisa catch of Jordan Silk around New Year's, do you think that's a catch?
I think we had this discussion about field of play.
Yep.
Once you're jumping over the ropes and you're kind of out of the field of play, then you magically jump into the air.
You can't be You can't be just jumping in the air.
Yeah.
You go catching in row 10.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Like baseball, like Derek Jeter into the fucking third row.
Yeah. I think he still has to jump from without a side of the pitch. He can't jump the fence, though. Yeah.
Correct.
So the same thing. Whereas I think in the context of this is if that wasn't, say, the boundary line, but actually the fence line, he could have thrown it up, jumped over the fence, gone up a few steps, jumped again, caught it, thrown it back, and then jumped back over the fence and caught it again, and would have counted.
It's this fucking circus, mate.
To me, it seems silly. I think the field of play is, across all sports is kind of where they've sat with what it looks like. To change that, and across all of T20 seems odd. I don't know why you do that.
Yeah, that's the rules as far as we could tell in international cricket, T20 as well, which is
only changed this
strange.
Year. So we tried to work out whether it was a Big Bash League Pacific rule. Again, trying to do something different or interesting, but it seems like it's a T20 rule. And to me, it's odd.
If you don't know what we're talking about, jump on YouTube or your Google engine and type in Michael Nisa catch Jordan Silk Big Bash. I'm sure that'll come up.
I just can't wait for someone to take the piss, jump the fence, and do a whole bunch of bunny hops, catch it, bunny hop, and then they work their way back to the field of play. He's gone down from bait 10 up in the top deck, and he's worked his way back, doing his bunny hops to make sure he doesn't touch the ground when he touches the ball.
Silly.
Yeah, it seems silly to me.
But I also really enjoy the catches where they leave the field of play and peg the ball back in and they're in the air the whole time and someone catches it.
Yeah, they've established themselves from the field of play, not outside. Well,
I said to you boys during the week, the rule should be as soon as one of your feet leaves the field of play, i.e. you've taken a step outside of the rope, then it's not a
Yeah,
catch.
and you touch the ball again? Yeah, I think so. I think I'd be more happy as well if he'd come back, like re-established himself, jumped out again and touched the ball if the ball's up high enough.
Yeah.
But you're still coming, you're just from the field of play. You're not outside of it doing a bunny hop. To me, that sounds dumb.
Yeah, it was a bit silly. Good on Michael Neser for knowing the rule and being aware of it. Jordan Silk was pretty fucking dirty and understandably so. But it was a bit of a head scratcher, and I think most sort of more pure cricket fans were thinking, "Well, I don't know if that flies."
Yeah. Yeah.
The other kind of interesting thing from the Big Bash this week was Adam Zampa nearly getting a Mancad, or what are we meant to call it, a non-striker's run out, because it's named after some dude called Mancad. It wasn't given out. Now, did we establish before that you don't have to have a warning? That's just sort of a gentleman's agreement.
I believe so.
That you're meant to warn people to stay in their crease, which old mate, it was about fucking halfway down the pitch. However, you can't simulate bowling action. You can't bring your arm above 90 or 180 degrees.
Yeah, that's a good backyard trick to pretend to bowl a full ball, but not release the ball and you spin around and take the bails off.
Yeah,
which is what Zampa did in this case, and the
bloke was not out, by the way.
Yes, the umpire told him, no, you've gone through the action. You can't go over over the 90.
I don't know. And
but I don't know. Let's just say it's not above shoulder height. You can't do like a rotation.
Well, I don't know what it is. And I kind of have a vested interest in this, in that being, range of motion and the things that I do Monday to Friday, I suppose. Yeah. But it was an interesting one. We've seen Ravi Ashwin, doing the same. Or
Stark in the last Test match gave a very good warning. He was just like, mate, he's pulled up as a mate. You're in front of me, and I haven't even bowled the ball yet. So, which fair warning, and he did. I think held his ground.
The umpire needs to be slightly accountable as well, and just say, "Bro, you can't be backing up that much." Well,
if we go to baseball again, are we stealing runs?
Yeah, we're stealing runs. Yeah. Well, if you're allowed to do that, you may as well just be sprinting with the fucking. Yeah. You just may as well be on the same trajectory as the bowler.
Yeah, I guess when you're getting. Later in the day, you need one or two quick runs, and everyone's around it.
The last over, last ball.
Why wouldn't you steal a run? You're just watching him, and you're like, well, I'll go down a little bit quicker. But anyway, it is what it is. IPL auction, finish off. We've still got a fair bit of cricket to go, but IPL auctions, Aussies getting paid.
Yeah, few Aussies. The most notable by far was that man Cameron Green. 3.1 million.
Was this like 3 days after he took 5 for as well?
Yeah, I think he scored 50. He scored 50 at the MCG, took 5 for, and got paid $3 million in an IPL auction in a week. Yeah, pretty handy week.
Yeah. Take that.
Take that.
Tell you what, if he had a 6-pack with his boys during that week, that's a perfect week. It's interesting the way that they're going in the IPL. We've sort of been following it pretty closely over the last few years, mainly to this podcast. They like throwing a bit of money at up-and-comers.
Yep.
And if you jag one, you jag one.
And would you say all-rounders?
Yeah, all-rounders. We're looking at this list. Sam Curran was the most expensive person purchased in the IPL at 3.3 million AUDs by Kings 11 Punjab. Had an excellent World Cup. Doesn't really bowl wheels, but swings the ball around. Has a great change-up. He's okay with the bat. He's definitely not Cam Green or Ben Stokes proficient with the bat, who was the third most expensive player taken by Chennai Super Kings. And then for mine, a few head scratchers.
Yep.
Nicholas Pooran, the fourth most or equal third most expensive player taken by Lucknow at 2.9 million. He's good on his day, but I just don't think that money kind of warrants highly established players. I don't think we've really seen that out of Pooran. Does captain the West Indies T20 side these days. And Harry Brook as well, getting 2.5 mil. Unbelievable year, played lights out, white ball cricket for the Poms, had a really good T20 World Cup, but he's never, he's not an established IPL player by any means. So it's interesting, and we saw this, a couple of years ago with Riley Meredith getting paid handsomely, and I think they just try to jump on someone because you have all these players that get retained, So it's it is a bit of a dice roll, and if you land someone, on the ascendancy of the start of their career, you've done well in your draft.
Yeah, and it is a bit of an auction as well. So they are, you might have multiple teams trying to fight for these guys as well, and they're going back and forth as well.
Then, it was 1 or 2.
Exactly, yeah.
Cam Green's reserve was 300K, I believe.
Yeah, he was happy to go 300K, and
How was that?
that week leading into it, he's played well, and he got a few clubs fighting over him.
Mate, Sunday shift you get double time. How about 10 times at the IPL? Not too bad. Other Aussies that got picked up: Jai Richardson, 270. Adam Zampa of Mancad fame or non-striker run-out fame, 270,000, and Dan Sams, 135. There's a few Aussies that got snubbed. Travis Head, I thought would have warranted, being drafted, and there's a lot of Aussies that have been retained as well.
Okay.
The likes of Maxwell, Marsh, Cummins, Hazelwood,
I think the year that kind of Travis Head has had, and the way he plays, like even in the Test matches, it's to attack and strike. I would have thought he might have got to go. But
maybe that's the way that they thought as well, because he hasn't played that much T20 cricket recently. Obviously, that's where he made his rise to fame, as per the David Warner model, and has forged himself a Test career out of being a very good limited overs player.
We do know that India do not lack batsmen.
They don't, and that's what we've noticed in the last few years.
Yeah.
Following this league more closely. They want all rounders. They want quicks.
Yeah, quicks.
So spinners
and batsmen,
and top order. They have a dime a dozen over there, and that's where they try to kind of invest heavily is foreign all rounders and foreign quicks.
Before we move on, I just wanted to go back to T20 comps. In the Caribbean Premier League, 2 teams are owned by IPL, and they have interest in a 3rd team as well.
So they're taking over, man.
Yeah.
So that'd be a 4th league that they've got already.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
there you go.
India's moving into foreign territory in the cricket world. Another country's moving into foreign territory in the outside world. Don't know which one.
Geopolitical, I guess.
Yeah. What was that fucking little bumhole country we were talking about? Oh, Northern Mariana Islands.
I thought you were going to mention America, because I know America's league is starting off shortly, and I was like, "There you go, there if you really want it."
Funny. Shout out to all the people that are listening from the Northern Mariana Islands. India playing Sri Lanka. They've smacked them up really in 3 T20s.
Yep.
Surya Kumar Yadav, 112 not yesterday. Looking pretty good. Look, one-way series. India loves to smack people and then not show up in big tournaments. Get at me, Indian fans, but that's what you do. They're looking very good. I think 3 ODIs upcoming. Yep. No Test matches, so they just play these games against Sri Lanka, and then essentially it's us in February. Yeah. And then Pakistan and New Zealand, a few Rawalpindi highways.
Played out a draw, I believe.
2 draw, both of them were draws. Runs are plenty. Have you got any scorecards there for us, monks, if you wouldn't mind?
So did I see a weird stat that Pakistan still haven't won in Pakistan?
Yeah, because we had 2 draws.
They lost to England,
and then
New Zealand.
Yeah, I think that's probably correct. After returning after a 20-year hiatus.
Yeah, they might need to start thinking about roads aren't a good home advantage for us.
Spatting practice, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, few highways. What do we have here?
Well, New Zealand, Conway got 122 there.
Yep.
Still good. Latham got 71, so no other real big scores, but they still made 449, followed by 400 by Pakistanis. So
it was the first test, I think, that was even more runs aplenty. Pakistan against New Zealand in the first test there at Karachi.
600.
Yeah, this is the one where Babar Azam, he's pretty good at cricket. He made 161. Aga Salman, 103. And then New Zealand went out and made 612. Kane Williamson, double ton. Tom Latham, 113. Devon Conway, 92. Runs aplenty essentially in that series.
Yes. Cool.
Moving forward,
what do we got? We got 10 left, and Marnus is on to throw some rank turners, and they've gone up for a decision. Oh, that's turned.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is a draw.
Yes, that's probably looking a bit high up there. I think that's what they're thinking.
I think high, maybe down leg. Anyways, big bash, I suppose, for the next few weeks, and then bring on that India series. That's finger looking good from the Colonel in a couple of weeks' time. Yeah, 3-4 weeks.
Yeah, 4 weeks.
Not bad for the pod either, India and Australia. Jeez, the only fucking success we've ever had.
We will cover it extensively.
Hang on. Maybe clip this. Australia win 4-0 in India. India suck. Australia, father of India, etc., etc.
India afraid of India.
Yeah. Clip that. Smith is better than Kohli. All right, that'll wrap up our cricket chat. In summation, Australia, very good. Disappointing series from South Africa. I think they need to work on that top 6. Especially when they go away. Really liked what I've seen out of Nortje, and I think Marco Jansen has a long test career ahead of him. But
I think we hit the nail on the head that we're 2 great bowling attacks going into this series, and then maybe some question marks about the top order for the South Africans, which I think is kind of been found out.
We have 2 blokes that average 60.
Yeah.
So
yes,
and they're playing at home.
Yeah, well, we have 3 blokes in the top 4.
And Usman's in the fucking form of his life, and Warner with a monkey on his back had something to prove. And we've got a bloke that bats 5 and doesn't give a fuck and just goes out and strikes at 120. So, and
then the big unit can come out if we really want. So, and I think that was probably the big difference here is the top order for the South Africans. So like we thought leading into previewing this, well, might be with the difference in these series, which was.
Yeah, we rule at cricket again. It's great for, things that don't really pertain to my life that give me an inflated sense of self-worth, et cetera, et cetera. We rule, you stink. See you next time.
9 overs to go.
With respect.
Needed. Draw incoming.
Boys, let's go across the ditch. The big story really that's taken not just the NFL world but maybe the world by storm this week. Pretty rare to see the scenes that we saw out of Cincinnati during the week. Monday Night Football. Damar Hamlin. If you didn't see it,
haven't seen the story. So.
Pretty routine kind of tackle on T. Higgins.
Correct.
Cops a shot to essentially the left chest sort of area from Higgins' shoulder.
Yep.
Gets back up, he's fine, and then drops to the ground.
It shuts down.
Loses consciousness. 9 minutes of CPR performed on the ground. It was reminding me of Christian Eriksen
Eriksen's probably the biggest
last year
sports star that people would know about.
Having a cardiac event on the field of play in a primetime game.
Yep.
And just
only midway through the first quarter, it only just kicked off really.
The thing that's been very encouraging for me, I suppose, was the response and just everyone getting around Damar Hamlin, and just football took a back seat, didn't it? And this young man's life, was on the line. He's woken up. He's been extubated, which means he's not on any breathing support in the intensive care anymore. And he said, "I love you, boys," to his teammates, which is
by all accounts what they're reporting is like all his motor functions and everything. He's all still there, like doing CPR for that long period of time. There's always concern. Mm-hmm. How's it going to affect him afterwards? And it sounds like he's all there. So we'll have to see what comes of that for him, for his career wise. I know the Buffalo Bills will take care of him forever and a day. I know the NFL fraternity loves him. And I think it was probably a big moment for the NFL. Not really having anything of, say, the serious nature happen ever before within a game.
Has there been deaths early in the NFL?
Well, if you go back to leather
helmet days, you'd imagine
Well, they created helmets essentially because they were getting skull fractures. So it wouldn't surprise me if they had some long-term effects, if not deaths playing in the early years. But nothing in, say, the modern NFL that we know of. Nothing for a very long time. Nothing like that, I would say.
And prime time. End of the year, big game, defending Super Bowl.
I agree. I was quite impressed with the NFL because I know the NFL can not really give a shit about their players at some points. And it's like the game's a game. We've got revenue money to be made, and wouldn't have surprised me if they forced this game go ahead or tried to do it the next day kind of thing. But they've been really compassionate about it, and everyone kind of involved in it has been really compassionate about it. And I think that was great to see, especially from the NFL, to show that even one man's life was bigger than the NFL, which was huge. And
I wonder as well the influence of the players as well, and just saying
coaches,
you could see
owners,
how shook up players from both sides, but especially those Buffalo Bills guys and those guys in that defense.
Some of the quotes from Zach Taylor and McDermott, then Taylor just saying all he said is, "I need to be with my guys. There's no point playing a football game." And and then the same thing. The Bengals was like, "Cool, we're good with that." Yes, this is super key for both of us seeding wise for playoffs, but it's not the right time to be playing football. So I hope from this, I assume the NFL is going to learn a lot about hearts and the impacts of hearts.
What's your understanding on what actually happened?
Well,
I did a bit of YouTube.
Yeah, if you're throwing Dr. Sean out there, it's I've seen a bit like the impacts of depending on the rhythm of the heart and depending on how strong your wall is of your your chest and that
Possibly,
as well. You've hit it on the right rhythm to essentially shut it down. And turns it off. I've seen some other theories, maybe it's a bad concussion, the brain shuts down, which then turns everything off.
Don't think so.
I don't agree. I don't think so. And maybe an undiagnosed heart defect.
See, that was my first thought. From what I've seen, there's a thing that can happen called commotio cordis,
which I think is the one, which is what everyone thinks it was.
Yeah, which you normally see in baseballers or an ice hockey like goalie, and it's a blow directly to the left side of your chest, and it has to happen during the T wave, which is a tiny little bit during an ECG, and you see the spikes and that.
Might as well buy a lotto ticket.
The last little bit,
rare,
So you have to have that happen at that time, and just essentially bad luck.
Yeah, I agree. So I 100% think it was that. The other things, theories of what potentially could be.
The vaccine, dude.
That was it. My point being, I think the NFL is going to do a lot of research, and I think they're going to learn a lot about hearts.
It seems like a freak accident.
It does. It wouldn't surprise me if they changed the shoulder pads a little bit to add something a little bit. Because most shoulder pads only cover the pec area and they don't really go down lower. Quarterbacks, they all wear the flap jacket or, rib protection as well. Wouldn't surprise me if more guys take that, or they add a little something, on the front of there, just just a bit of extras, something to, give a bit of strength in that area potentially. So you don't get something like that. But I think the point is, a lot of research probably going into that. They're going to learn a lot, which hopefully will benefit not just the NFL, but a lot of other leagues and other sports at the lower levels of the sport. Juniors.
That's right. Yeah,
and make it safer overall for everyone because we've seen some of that. We definitely saw it with Ericsson. It's a thing that's it's not frequent. It doesn't happen, but it does happen. So the more we learn from it, and the better we can have. 'Cause, you don't want guys in their 20s to be dying of heart attacks on football fields. So
there's also the freak aspect of it. We're watching cricket, and the mind goes back to Phil Hughes, and it's like you'd think playing cricket it's a reasonably safe sport to be playing. Unfortunately, the nature of how fragile we are as human beings, that there are freak occurrences that can happen.
Still, 140 kilometre an hour ball come at you will hurt.
Of course.
But using that as example, what's come from that, a lot of research into helmets, a lot of additions potentially into the helmets to cover the back of that area.
Yeah, a little bit that covers the back of the head.
So, I expect that sort of stuff will come into the NFL, definitely. Because the vision, the scenes, even some of the talking to some players, I know that, I can't remember the Buffalo player, it was like, hey, I'm going to get all my money now. I'm going to be playing the NFL, but my son, he's not doing it. So, the vision is the younger guys, you want the NFL has to respond to make it safer, do the science, because they don't want the mums and dads, the next generation and generations of potential football players to be turned off for that reason. And, some of the NFL players are like, I've made this decision for me. I'm not going to allow my children to do it. So, it's a gladiator sport. All the contact sports are that way. There is inherent risk in all of them.
Final points.
So keeping on with sad news and sad stories. So there's been two deaths. One on field was Chuck Charles Hughes back in 1971. He had a heart attack. A stroke.
Jesus.
Which or a blood clot that became lodged in his heart. So whether that's directly related to on field,
correct. That could have just happened on the field.
Yeah, he might have had it, got dislodged, and then ended up in the heart, and that's all she's wrote.
Yeah, and the most recent football related death, Corey Stringer for Minnesota Vikings. It wasn't during the season. It was on the practice field, and he died from exertionary heat stroke.
Jesus, that's wild to think, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely like training camp practice sort of thing. Like that's probably where you'd be most likely to understand that you don't need to push it. But I guess again, if you're playing for a spot in the team, starting position, then
there's fringe practice squad guys, etc.
Well, actually, he was a Pro Bowler, so I don't think it would be a fringe player.
He's just putting in extra effort.
Yeah, so
crazy to think, isn't it?
Absolutely crazy.
Anyways, obviously.
We'll continue to follow the story.
Yeah,
happy. It's a great result. That
happy that he's awake and responsive. And hopefully he makes a full recovery.
Yeah, let's hope he goes the way like Ericsson did. Yeah, makes recovery, gets back in the top flight league, and can continue his career.
Probably good news story out of this as well. On top of the fact that he's still alive and he's coming back to health. He started a charity where he wanted to raise $50,000 to donate toys to kids.
Toys for kids.
And
$7 million now?
8 million.
It was 8 when I saw it yesterday.
Yeah.
USDs.
Yeah, so obviously. And we obviously saw some of the games, which we'll talk about in a second. Massive tributes to him.
Yeah, across the league.
On field.
Yeah, stadiums, decals, bands. I think there's all sorts of things. So, it's a bit of an outpouring of love.
RG3, I think, commenting on one of the college football games had Hamlin's shirt on backwards with his name and number on it, just making everyone aware. So,
yes. So, if we go to the implications for football, because officially that game was cancelled.
Yep.
So it was no result. The big impact, of course, ends up being with AFC seeding. So depending on how it goes, because I think you said in the intro, Kansas City is the 1 seed.
Yep.
There could be 2 1 seeds.
So it's depending on the ruling.
Yes, because Buffalo could also could have got the same record if they had completed that game.
So is that game going to end up as a tie in the books, or how are they going to do it?
No result. So, which would mean if Buffalo wins out, they'd end up technically on the same seeding. So I think there's going to be a neutral site involved. So they're going to find somewhere to do, say if they make it through to the AFC Championship game, where we're getting at, that'll be a neutral site that they play at. Some chat about Pittsburgh maybe. There's also some chat about the seedings for some of the other teams because of this. Maybe for the Bengals, that there could be coin tosses involved. To decide whether they're 7 and 8. So there's a big long list. The owners got together, they approved the rules set, which was Saturday for us yesterday, of what will go forward. So the AFC, it's going to be a little bit interesting. I think it'll matter less if Buffalo say loses and Cincinnati win, because I think then they'll all have a clear seeding. But it's going to be a little bit interesting. But I guess the main thing is who can make the playoffs. Everything else really doesn't matter at this point. Denver Broncos going to get a new head coach. They fired them one. Derek Carr got sacked, but they're not playing playoffs. So we don't care about that. Let's talk about where we're going to end up. So the NFL playoff picture as it stands for the AFC, we've got New England Patriots at 7 taking on Bills 2. Ravens at 6, Bengals at 3 in their matchup, and that'll be a big one. Chargers playing Jacksonville. Well, at the moment, the matchup is Chargers-Jacksonville, which is 5-4, because Chargers have Denver. And the wild card bye at the moment is Kansas City at 1. So that might have changed. No, that probably confirmed for Jacksonville.
So Jacksonville winning earlier.
Have
so
clinched,
they're in.
so they've won for Tennessee. Other teams that have clinched, Bills, Chiefs, Bengals, and Ravens are all in, as well as the Chargers. So that means New England out of that list is the only ones that can miss out. Have I got that right?
Yeah.
Now the Jags have clinched theirs.
Yep, that sounds about right. Miami, if New England lose and Miami win, does that change things?
I think that might be in the list. We'll go down that in a second. For the NFC, currently, you got the Seahawks potentially taking on the 49ers. The Giants are in, taking on the Vikings.
They're confirmed in, which is big.
Confirmed in, yep. Cowboys confirmed in, taking on Tampa Bay. Oh, well, I guess for that, we got the Eagles, of course, with their first round bye. Confirmed out, of course, from last week is the Commanders. They didn't make it in, so we didn't get the whole division.
Which would have been wild, considering that division 2 years ago was due to...
Yes. Yeah. They've actually called that cricket game, even with 6 overs to go, I believe. They've said that's enough.
Yeah, early beer.
Yeah, might as well. Teams that have clinched, so 49ers, Vikings, Buccaneers, Eagles and Cowboys and Giants are all in there. I think
so there's one spot.
Yeah, it leaves the Seahawks potentially as the ones that could miss out.
Well, the Packers can get in. We'll talk about them in a second.
Yes. So if we run through the AFC playoff scenarios, so we got Kansas City are taking on the Raiders.
Beat them today.
So they will clinch the 1 seed, or they will equal with Buffalo, depending on what we said before. If Buffalo loses, they'll definitely be 1. We talked about Jacksonville. They beat the Titans, so they have clinched the AFC way with their win and are through.
You feel for Derrick Henry, I suppose.
A little bit,
yeah. You know, Tannehill going down. Josh Dobbs played pretty well, I thought, in the last few weeks.
Yeah, their receiving core has been kind of all over the place, dealing with injuries. So they've been banged up this year, the Titans. Look for them to bounce back in the following season, potentially. What else is on that list, Jimmy?
Scroll on down. We've got tomorrow, our time, at least.
Titans are out, as mentioned, because they lost. Buffalo Bills would have clinched with a win, and would have clinched home field advantage with a win and Kansas City losing, but that hasn't happened. So they will only tie and have to play at that neutral site, as mentioned. New England clinches the playoff berth if they win, and if not, if Miami lose, Pittsburgh lose, and Jacksonville win, so they got one of those, they will make it in. So
they can lose, and they just need one other team to lose.
2 other teams to lose. They need Miami and Pittsburgh to lose to make it in.
I don't know. If I was a Pats fan,
yeah,
because you're playing the Bills.
Yeah. So, and the Bills probably still keen to play for the 1 seed, you'd think.
Fucking hell.
Even if it's
could you imagine a bit of the fire in the belly of some of those guys thinking, geez, like...
what they're playing for is, do we want to play Kansas City at a neutral site, or do we want to play them in Kansas City?
And the week that they've had as well, like thinking, fuck.
Yeah. I think a win, and then also, not wanting to go to Arrowhead is probably a good thing. So that's what they would be playing for. That's a big match up there. I don't think New Orleans is going to do the job. They are depending on Miami losing and Pittsburgh losing. So Miami, following that, they've got New York Jets, who are out.
Jets confirmed out, which is
eliminated.
Pretty hard pill to take for Jets fans. They started 5-2, did they not?
Yes,
5-1, something like that.
They had a great start to the season.
Yeah, a bit of back and forth. With quarterback issues. Bit of chat. They're going to move on from Zach Wilson.
The MILF Hunter.
Yeah, the MILF Hunter. So we'll see how that goes. So Miami Dolphins,
short films.
They need to win, and they need New England to lose. Pittsburgh Steelers, they've got Cleveland Browns. They need to win. They need Miami and New England to lose to make it in. So
uphill task for Pittsburgh.
Yes, yeah. They've got the Browns there, so they should win that game, but they need some results to go there.
Not necessarily.
They've been playing pretty well, and the defense is way better with TJ Watt in it.
Yeah, indeed.
We'll have to see what that looks like going forward. Flip, we go to the other conference, NFC. Eagles have clinched. Will they clinch home field advantage? They just need to win against the Giants.
Which you think they do.
Yeah, otherwise they just need Dallas to lose and San Fran to lose.
Don't think that's happening.
Yeah,
both of those teams.
What's their record compared to Dallas? So they do need to win the East as well.
Because Dallas has beaten them.
Yes, if they lose and that's Dallas win, they end up on the same record.
Tiebreak is what I'm saying.
So tiebreak, yes, Dallas would clinch the division. Either way, they're going to play in the playoffs. They're just seeding for them. 49ers can clinch home field advantage for themselves if they win, and of course Philly loses that game to New York. Dallas, they've got Commanders. They can clinch home field advantage if they win, and then Philly and 49ers lose. And they, of course, can clinch the division if they win and then Philly lose. So,
hard to see Philly and San Francisco losing.
Yeah, I don't think so. These are probably the three best in this division. So that's, I think, where it'll...
Well, then it's daylight, really, isn't it, in terms of records?
Yeah, well, then we're talking now about the Seattle Seahawks that are now playing against the last year's Super Bowl champions, the Los Angeles Rams, who are now 5-11.
I think I saw a stat during the week. No team has ever won the Super Bowl and then lost 11 games the next year.
Yeah.
Wow. Talk about a Super Bowl hangover.
Yeah. Talk about injuries, bro.
Yeah, injuries don't help, do they?
So Seattle can make it in if they win and Green Bay lose. Green Bay have got the Lions. They can
Let's go! It's Sunday night football.
Yeah.
No easy task, though.
4 weeks ago, I was sitting here. I was throwing this hat away.
You quit. You're a Dallas fan
I was
already.
a Dallas fan. Let's go, boys, etc., etc. Big fan of Jerry Jones, great bloke, etc. And now I've done it. I've gone back. I said, baby, come back. I still love you, Aaron. They've won 4 in a row. They pumped the Vikings last week, and they're playing. Name basis, how good on paper they should be. That's the way they've been playing in December.
That Vikings team probably not for real, but we talk about
pretenders.
This. Yeah, we talk about this Packers Lions. So that's the final matchup here. If Packers win, they're in.
Yep. All I have to do is win.
If their Lions win,
they need Seattle to lose.
They need Seattle to lose, and then they are in. My preference would be for the Lions to make it to the playoffs, considering how.
Long suffering fans, I get it.
Over Green Bay, come on, let's do it.
Yeah,
they've won enough.
Yeah, so that would get them into the playoffs, and they're the last spot essentially is what they're playing for, the last seed, and that's I guess the playoff run. Who you feeling out of that? What's your thoughts?
In terms of moving forward, who?
Yeah. Who do you think's going to make it into the finals? Who do you think's, probably got a good head of steam going into the finals? Just give me some thoughts.
I watched most of Kansas City and Las Vegas today. Yep. That Andy Reid led Patrick Mahomes offense is fucking insanity. They can do anything at the goal line as well. You think about Travis Kelce and what he does at in the red zone and all those little shuffle passes and the rest of it. And essentially the last 6 weeks, they haven't used him as a red zone threat. They've got these wide receiver reverses where they'll hand it off to Kadarius Toney or Juju. They've got Jerick McKinnon,
McKinnon's been a huge
getting these fucking shovel passes where Mahomes just drags three defenders and finds him wide open.
I think
they can just do anything, especially in the red zone. And there's so many teams that march up the field and then they get to the red zone and they fucking struggle. Whereas the Chiefs, they've just got that uncanny ability to just punch it in.
I still think and I think I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, their biggest issue maybe just be the talent level on the outside receivers. Come defensive time, come when you say playing the 49ers, potentially in the Super Bowl maybe, does that not match up well against it? I'd be interested to see how they go playoff-wise when they get into the really playoff football defenses and see how they go, whether some of those guys can really carry the load, especially when teams focus on Kelce. Can they be the difference they need to be in those games?
It's an interesting point, and historically, defenses win championships, and you look at a lot of the teams that have had success in the past, and that it's off the back of these strong defenses. I just don't know if there's a standout this year. You look at the 49ers last week, and they get fucking lit up by Jarrett Stidham.
True.
Do you know what I mean? The Bills' defense is pretty stout, and that could
Eagles
be the AFC. That could be the
good.
AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
From me as a neutral, and when I watch that offense operate. I just don't know which defense is going to be able to step up. But you are right. Historically speaking, a lot of offenses run into the playoffs and they're playing lights out, and then a good defense comes in and stamps them out.
Especially, it's a cold time of year. It's cold football.
Yeah, where are you playing? Yeah.
You got to be able to run the ball. You got to play good defense. Typical kind of caveats in coming into the playoffs. We know the freak that Mahomes is, but when you start taking away some of those options, what are they going to do on that side of the ball? So we'll see. I think, we've kind of talked about it. I believe Buffalo and Kansas City are heads above everyone else. I think the Bengals have probably hit their run at the right time.
Definitely. Playing good football at the right time of the year.
Yeah.
What's a cancelled game of football going to do to their psyche and their momentum, I suppose?
Yeah, I just don't know how they can make it back to, back to a Super Bowl with a worse offensive line than they did last time. So, which is funny considering how much they invested in trying to make that line better. And I think they lost Collins as well, their right tackle. They paid big money, who's on injury reserve with knee. I think it was ACL. I could be wrong on the ligament. But either way, that's their biggest issue at the moment is protecting Burrow. But outside of that, they're playing very, very good. On the other side, I think the Vikings probably pretenders. I'm not sure if Dak's playing well enough for Dallas to go deep.
I think they've been good. And the fact that they've beaten Philly twice.
Yeah, I think they're good, but I just don't think, again, when it matters, I'm not sure if Dak's been playing well enough.
Well, who's good enough in the NFC then?
I do like championships. Cowboys have probably got one of the better defenses.
Their defense has been great. They've got the best running game in football, essentially.
Yeah. So the caveat, of course, Dak hasn't had to do as much as he had to do in the past.
And that's why his numbers aren't elite, because they're just handing it off to Zeke and Pollard, who are ripping off between them 150
But his
yards.
turnover numbers are very high.
That is true.
And we just talked about a man named Derek Carr for the exact same amount of intercepts being sat down. So Dak's played 5 less games than he had. So there are some concerns there with that Dallas team. I don't know, but the 49ers, again, the question's going to be quarterback. Who's going to be playing quarterback? Jimmy G's expected to be back in the middle of playoffs.
That's interesting, isn't it? Considering how good Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant's been in this month.
Or they just keep rolling with him. They just keep, just your job, give it to CMC or throw it to Brendan.
Fuck having to make those decisions, hey?
Yeah.
Seriously, Scott Boland or Josh Hazelwood or Brock Purdy or Jimmy G.
Well, they're still missing.
You'd have to
Samuel. So Samuel's got to come. Debo's got to come back.
They've got some weapons offensive. Everyone talks about the San Francisco defense and how stout they are.
Well, their offensive line is great too.
Their offense is good, and they're playoff built.
Yeah,
it's not like they're the polar opposite to the Kansas City Chiefs with the gadget plays and the passing game.
I just can't wait for the Packers to make it a Champions League and lose the 49ers again.
Well, if the Packers make it,
the Bucks are still in there.
Yeah,
and that'd be an interesting matchup, wouldn't it? Between two former goats, aging goats.
I think the Bucks team's an interesting one. I don't know you mention it because I think their offense has all the weapons and Tom Brady's kind of got hot post-divorce, new partners, etc.
How old is she? Half your age plus 7. She's too young. She's too young.
She's definitely well too young.
She's close, actually. Half your age plus 7. The golden rule.
But, they're offensively playing really well and, Mike Evans has kind of turned it up a notch in the last month as well. They're healthy on offense, getting a bit of protection there for Tom. The defense is probably the question mark, and they still have a lot of the guys there. They've just been probably playing unders since their last Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Now this year they haven't been as good as they've been in the past, but you never know. Again, playoffs they could get hot.
Yeah.
Disregard the record and see where they go. They've got the goat. Who knows?
It'd be a juicy matchup. It's looking like Tampa Bay and Dallas, perhaps. So that'd be a juicy wild card matchup.
And would
that'd be the biggest test.
And that'd be Tampa at home as well, wouldn't it?
Tampa at home.
That'd be the biggest test for
Fire
the Bucks
cannons.
out of any of those teams. I'd say
You're most scared about Dallas?
Dallas' defense.
There's something about Minnesota and New York which screams not for real.
Yeah, well, you're talking about defenses. Yeah. Minnesota's got the worst defense of all those teams in the list. They've been putrid. The only reason they're there is because Kirk Cousins and that offense has been putting up points to keep them in games. So.
What does Jefferson need? He needs 193. So unlikely.
Yeah, I think he needs two receptions
to get the league yards record, which is fucking nuts.
Which is Calvin's record. Megatron's.
Which is that tick over 2,000?
Yeah.
No, 19 maybe?
Yeah, it's 100. No, it's 1,950 something. It's
1,900.
Yeah, 1,900. So, also, Jefferson's got an extra game and he's still going to go very close and needs a big game tomorrow to finish it off. So, yeah. Interesting times ahead.
Playoff football.
We'll know tomorrow this time tomorrow.
We'll know what the matchups will be.
Yes.
Let's just talk briefly. We don't talk much college football on the Esky, but, national championship, we may as well.
TCU, bro.
Yeah, the Horns, the Horny Frogs. Yeah. No, the Horn Frogs, sorry. Not the Horny Frogs, the Horn Frogs. I knew what I said. They take on Georgia Monday night, so they clear the NFL schedule, and then they have the playoff. Well, the final of the college game. Georgia trying to go back to back. They haven't lost a game this year, and TCU to look up the record books for this one. Won a national championship back in 1938.
It's been a while.
Been a while. You guys catch any of those semi-finals last week?
I saw some of the highlights from some of them.
Yeah, I really
insane, dude. Like,
the game.
Oh, but like both of them. That Georgia Ohio State, like they were just scoring at will, back and forth, and the Wolverines, not Hugh Jackman, the Michigan Wolverines, they did their best to lose that game. Like there was pick sixes, there was questionable coaching decisions, and they only just lost. So the pinnacle really of college football is late December, early January. How good, like I know it's been around for 8 years, but actually having a playoff system, would love to see quarterfinals come into it.
Well, I think they're expanding it. They're going to add 2 teams more. So what are they, 8 at the moment? I think they're going to 10.
No, there's 4.
So
there's just a semi-final and a final.
I can't remember the exact numbers, but from memory, they were saying that I think it's next season they're expanding it.
So they could go to
adding teams.
Well, 6 would be interesting. You could have the 2 best teams in football have a week off, and then 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5, a la English Football Championship. That's what they do, and then go into it like that. I'd love to see 8. I'd love to see I think it's 3 extra games.
Yep.
For the teams. However, if you want to win a national championship, you have to play 2 extra as it is.
Yep.
So it would be 1 more game, and then you could bring in a final 8 kind of scenario.
Yep. Yeah, I think there's potential there for some of the other leagues then potentially to fall into like a six spot, not just be all sec at the top there. Well,
interestingly, this year only 1 sec team. Which is quite different.
Very different
to the way that it has been. Well, no Alabama is
a massive.
It's quite unusual in terms of the last few years.
You get my point. It's not just the top leagues getting a Guernsey. It's like all the other ones having more potential chances than to, then you become, I guess it becomes a little bit like a Champions League playoff. Like you get all the top teams from each of the various conferences, the various leagues, then trying to play off for who is the best college team in college football. So
Sweet 16 would be nice.
You just make it a season longer. So
yeah, I know.
Did you get an answer, Jimmy, on any potential expansion and then there?
No.
Whispers.
Not yet.
Whispers, right.
Yep.
Whispers is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think there's too much money in it for them not to. I think there's been conversations about it for a while. But
back to earlier in the pod, the money tends to talk.
Yeah. Yeah, there was some chat during the week about Harris Jr., of course, for Marvin's son.
Harrison.
Just say Harris. Sorry, I meant Harrison.
Son of Harris.
Harris, son of
Harris Jr.
Yeah, Jr. Because he can't declare for the draft till next year, but he would potentially be like a top 5 pick, the number 1 wide receiver taken this year if he could come out, but he can't declare. So again, that whole system's come up about conversations. I personally still kind of like it. I prefer it, I guess.
Say the basketball model.
Yeah. Well, get your college degree, do some education, you come out as a more formed man in your early 20s versus, say, you get in the rugby league where you got...
I wasn't that formed when I came out of uni.
I'm not that formed at 32.
Yeah, true. But it's better than a 17 or 18-year-old like you might get in the rugby league, which is...
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of spotlight for a young man, isn't it?
Yeah. So, some of those earlier formative years, especially with education, you're actually getting free education for a lot of those guys on scholarships. So, I still kind of lean to it. Yes, the NCAA makes fuckloads of money off these guys and they make nothing.
That's my concern.
Yeah, I think they're slowly starting to alleviate some of that, and their players are making a bit more money off their likeness, etc. Doing ads and the like. But it's interesting. Then Michigan, the story about Jim Harbaugh, they're being investigated for recruiting violations because he bought the recruit a cheeseburger. So.
That's so dumb, dude.
Yeah. So,
all the money that they're spending on that cheeseburger investigation needs to go into Brett Favre.
Yes.
And
someone do his taxes. Bro.
Yeah, or I don't know, give it to charity. Like get a few homeless people off the street. I've been to America a few times. I've noticed there's a stark difference between our country and theirs. Why are you doing this? It's a cheeseburger.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an insignificant thing, and
it's so dumb, man.
Yeah.
Like it's not insignificant. It's stupidity.
Yeah.
Hey, it could have been a really good cheeseburger.
Yeah,
maybe it's
all
the
this
reason.
cheeseburger talks.
It's the
How
reason
many
he
$100
committed to
bills was
Michigan.
in that cheeseburger?
Eat it, no one will see. Got to sift through your shit and get the Benjamins out.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. It's dumb, man. Out of all the things that country doesn't do well, investigating things like this is silly.
Yeah. So, Jim's I think he was reconfirming he was going to stay at Michigan for as long as he could. Some of these rumors started floating around. He's like, hey, Denver, how's that head coaching job looking? So, some rumors there. Sean Payton, etc. We'll have to see what happens. But we'll cover that in the weeks to come. Because what was it? Denver's without a head coach. Carolina's without a head coach.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it?
For now. I believe, yeah.
For now,
I believe.
Oh, Texans, I think, may get rid of Lovie Smith. That's the rumours. They might change it up. But we'll see. They're going to have the one pick. Young's probably going there.
Yeah, Bryce Young.
Yeah. We'll have to see how that all plays out. It's probably enough for NFL.
Let's talk some hoops.
Curry sets, fires, puts it up. Bang!
Pretty crazy few weeks in terms of individual performances in the NBA. We've seen a few kind of team records get broken in terms of points per game. We'll start in the East. It's been interesting, actually, since our last pod. The Celtics and the Bucks have sort of come back to earth a little bit, and that middle of the pack, particularly the Brooklyn Nets, that you can't even call them middle now, that they've gone into two, have been playing really well. Let's start at the top of the East in the Celtics. Like I said, dropped a few games. They still hold first, but it's really tightened up at the top of the table there. Robert Williams III has been back. They're kind of load managing him. He's playing about 19 minutes per game, and that man, Jason Tatum, continues to play lights out. However, there is a new MVP favourite who we'll mention later when we get to the West. The Nets.
Does he not like Batman?
Good question.
Well, we'll see. We'll check it out later.
Batman, Robin,
Joker.
Oh, he's not the favourite. He's not the favourite.
Does not like Batman. Joker.
I was like Riddler, Penguin.
Mark, you went to the ones that aren't the classic arch enemy. Is the Joker?
Yeah, I haven't seen many. I know it's DC's. It's different universe. This came up in my group chat. I don't really get into that world very much. I know my little brother would
slap you.
Oh, indeed, and really invested in Avengers and Captain America and shit. And I don't know. I think I'm just not a virgin.
I got 2 kids, bro. Settle down. They got my fucking ears as well. They're definitely mine.
I don't know. And maybe it's only so much bandwidth, when you're trying to work your job Monday to Friday, and maybe
watch all the sport.
Have a few kids, watch a bit of sport, talk some shit on the internet, and then you're just like, dude, I don't care about Avengers 8. Like seriously, anyways, tangent.
Yeah.
No, the Joker has not become the favourite for the MVP.
Okay.
It's another man in the West. We'll get to that in a sec. Let's talk the Brooklyn Nets. They'd won 12 in a row, and they lost to the Bulls to break that streak. I don't know if you guys followed much of the Kyrie hoopla in the sort of latter end of 2022.
I guess the question is, did he do his service? I think that was the.
He sat out his 5 games, and he's been, to his credit, has been playing phenomenally. Really,
keeping his mouth quiet, playing basketball.
Just I don't know, that guy. It's not quite Kanye cooked. It's a good level.
I don't think he'd be as cooked as Kanye.
No,
Just levels of shit, and I don't think anyone's on that level.
Yeah, but just you can't question the way that he plays on the court. That's for sure.
Yeah, I agree. How's our boy Ben Simmons been doing?
Really good as well. Cleaning the glass. Has high
defensive
assist
role. Very much.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, I think
rebound and assist.
I don't think he even averages double-digit points a game. But
in this team though, that's exactly what you.
It's like he's a starter. You don't want to call the bloke a role player, but his role is to take
get boards, get assists,
and take their best offensive player a lot of the time. So and he's been playing lights out and kudos to him. Paddy Mills sort of seeing a bit more of a reduced role over there at the Nets. Age, the old father time starting to play a little bit of a factor. I think he's 34. I don't think he's.
Well, they've got all their starters back playing as well. Like last year, they had a bunch of guys in and out of the team, which allowed Paddy to play more. So I think the big thing for him is probably making sure Ben Simmons is in a happy place.
Indeed, 34.
34.
34, yeah. For Canberra's own, but. Who knows, man? You look at LeBron, would look at the NFL. Age is just a number.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Bucks sit in third. They're 25 and 14. They actually had lost 4 in a row in that sort of lead up to Christmas. Got spanked yesterday by the Charlotte Hornets of all teams. I punted on them. I had Bucks to win. Giannis overs. Giannis had 9 points. Thanks for coming. In the lead up, though, had put up numbers like 55, 43, 45. He'd been pretty good.
Didn't he have 4 games over 40 or something?
I think, ridiculous.
Sort of record.
Ridiculous. And then the Esky curse obviously extends to the Peps punting curse.
Oh, definitely.
That's why he played garbage yesterday. Yep. I don't know if you guys saw on Thursday the Raptors game. They were 21 points up with 4 minutes to go. Sports Centre, Scotty Van Pelt with his beautiful bald dome ran us through this one. Teams in that situation, 6,619 and be pretty unlucky to lose. They didn't lose. Yep. They pushed it to overtime and won in overtime. Jeez. But it was nearly a miraculous ballsing up of a good lead there. And let's talk about Aussies and older Aussies. Joe Ingles, Jingling Joe. He's been playing a few minutes, returning back from his ACL.
That was at the Olympics, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Playing a few minutes, he's obviously, just off the bench kind of, sit on the wing and try and jag a 3 now and then. But he's the oldest Aussie ever to be playing in the NBA now at 35 and however many months. And he's on a 1-year deal, so there's no guarantee that he'll be in the NBA next year, let alone on a good team in the NBA. So for Jingling Joe to get a championship ring, you'd think it's 2023 or bust.
Yes. Yep. Oh, he's on a good squad, though, so we'll see how they go.
Fucking oath.
Yeah.
Cavaliers, they sit in 4th. You guys see Donovan Mitchell during the week?
71, bro. Poor Bulls.
70. I had to double check the phone. I was like, "Are you sure 71?" So
he's in a good place now.
Dude.
Much happier. It sounds like over there in Cleveland.
8th biggest game in NBA history. A lot of that list is Wilt Chamberlain as well above him.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Most points by an NBA player since Kobe, when he had the 81-pointer back in 2005, I think 2004, something like that.
That's wild.
Yeah,
that's huge.
Quite some time. Some time, and the Cavs looking, their front office looking pretty sharp after acquiring him, and the chemistry obviously with Garland and the rest of the Cavaliers seems to be looking okay.
Yeah, I really like where they're going. I think they've built well.
Sixers look okay. Tyrese Maxey stepping it up a little bit. Obviously, Joel Embiid and James Harden pretty good. Embiid their main points getter, Harden their most dimes. Have you guys seen that Hustle movie?
Oh, I haven't seen it, but I know of it.
Yes.
Watched it during the week. Yeah.
It's got, is it Bogdan
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
Well, he big old Boban Marjanovic, who some of my friends say I look like him. Look, he's in the NBA, 7'4", you know.
Yeah.
Probably a huge hog, like, let's be honest.
Yeah, he's got the same nose as you, bro.
Yeah. See, I'd probably take offence. Nonetheless, he's not the main character. It's Adam Sandler and Queen Latifah. If you, they're the old married couple in that one. They make it work. And Juancho Hernando Gomez is the protagonist, if you will. He can kind of act. There's a scene where he's a bit teary and that. I don't know if the language barrier or whatever plays into it, but it's not a bad movie. There's NBA cameos throughout.
Yes.
Anthony Edwards plays a guy called Kermit. Kermit the Frog. Patrick Mahomes says hi. Nah, I love you, Paddy. I don't know why. It's mostly set in Philadelphia, so that's why I brought it up here.
Knicks.
Fair.
Middle of the pack now. It's starting to get like, look, they probably don't win the East, but kudos to
need
you
to
guys.
start have some runs, and like the Knicks there, they've had a 4-game winning streak in 22 and 18. So Randall back playing well.
Brunson been good. I think he had a career high during the week. But yeah, you look at like the likes of the Pacers. They play good team ball. Like Tyrese Halliburton's playing really well. Buddy Hield, Miles Turner. They're all been okay, but you don't see them bothering anyone. I suppose.
I think the interesting one that's probably Miami.
Yeah,
and that note there of Jimmy Bucket's back healthy is probably a big reason why they beat a team like the Suns.
Yeah,
and one of those teams in that middle pack that could push their way up into the top of the board.
And I expect them to. Like, I think on paper, they're a better team than the Pacers. They're a better team than the Knicks.
Yep.
Then, like, where do they mix into sort of that sort of 4-5 kind of seed with the Sixers and the Cavs? Like, that's probably where the question needs to be asked. But would only expect them, there's still over half a season to go. Yep. I only expect them to probably usurp the Knicks and the Pacers on paper at least.
Bulls, Hawks, both under 500.
So we're starting to talk play in here. Again, on paper, you'd think the Bulls maybe a little bit better.
Well,
Hawks Trae Young, and
again, just need to start making a couple of runs and putting some form together. Wizards, I think they've probably been playing overs actually.
Well, the last few weeks, I think they won 5 in a row, and they knocked off the Bucks, they knocked off the Suns, they knocked off the 76ers, but they did lose 10 in a row. And when they're bad, they're bad.
Yeah, depends on what team you're getting.
Yeah, I wouldn't put a line through them. But they might be sort of play in or thereabouts.
What about the teams below them and the Raptors, Magic, Hornets, and Pistons?
Raptors, same as the Wizards, I would say. Don't put a line through them. Are they going to win a championship this year? No. Could they make a play in and get to the first round of the playoffs? Yep. Perhaps. But then in terms of lines through them, Magic, Hornets, Pistons. Magic, thank God for Paolo Banchero. He's no doubt going to be the rookie of the year. He's a very, very good basketball player. They strung together 6 wins, which is impressive. But I don't think they're bothering anyone come June. The Hornets have been quite bad. Unless they're playing the Bucks and I bet on the Bucks, but that's personal gripe, perhaps more so than analysis. And the Pistons, they can't catch a break. It happened a few weeks ago, but we haven't, we haven't potted since.
Technically a break, but
Cade Cunningham is going to be out for the season. He's got those tibial stress fractures, little micro fracture in the shin.
So not a complete break.
Yeah, Dr. Sean, you just run us through his recovery prognosis, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. Well, shins suck, so
and it's the same. I think it's the same problems that he had leading into the start of his NBA career.
Yeah, especially for big men like.
He's 6'5", 6'6", but they suck for anyone.
Yeah, true.
In general,
shins. Yeah, stress fractures of shins.
Runners is a big thing. Obviously, there's a lot of running up and down the court involved in the NBA. They did have a nice little highlight Sports Centre this week, buzzer beater versus the Dubs. I think it was Clay that had a 3-pointer with about 2.5 seconds left, and they thought they were home, and they had the Pistons got the last possession in ball, and then Saddiq Bey as time expired.
Jeez.
Yeah, I remember this.
But that was one night, and the rest of the season's looking pretty ordinary. With the future of your franchise, going. I think he had surgery and on ice essentially for the rest of the year. Mm-hmm. Now let's talk about that man, the enemy of the Batman. We're not talking about the Penguin. We're not talking about the Riddler.
Talk about the Joker.
Any niche Batman fucking references? Ra's al Ghul comes to mind. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Who else is in there?
So you are a sweaty little virgin over there.
Sweaty, yes, and haven't had sex for years. I know once I have a child.
What's it been the last 12 months?
The Nuggets, they lead the West.
Yeah, the chat I've been seeing is, do you think the Nugs are the most complete team? They do have...
In the West or in the NBA?
I'd say West, but even caveat NBA. Like, are they firming as a team to push for potential championship winning?
I don't see it just yet. I know that.
I think in the past, like last year, for example, and since Murray's ACL, when they lost Murray and getting him back, getting him into form, that combination with him and Joker is kind of where they've been missing. They've got that now. They've got that. They're playing great basketball together. Got a lot of pieces there. So Howard or Gordon? Aaron
Gordon.
Mm-hmm. There as well. I think they're playing a lot of, you've got the megastar, the two-time MVP and Joker, but the guys around him are playing really good basketball as well. And now they're sitting at the top of the West. Some of that chat, of course, where they're at. Joker gone for a three-peat as an MVP, which would be ridiculous.
Yep.
But it's not out of the question. He's definitely playing great basketball. But yeah. What are your thoughts? Where do you see the Nuggets?
I know that they're leading the West, which is insane. They're 26-13. I'm not convinced that they're the best team in the West just yet. And then you've got to worry about the Celtics and the Bucks over on the other side. Yeah. Like you say, healthy Jamal Murray. Love to see it. Aaron Gordon's been very good. And you think about the team kind of impact. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys averaging double digits a game. So they're playing great team basketball, which takes the load off Joker having to go out and getting a triple double every fucking single night.
True.
But when it comes,
but his averages, he's still doing it anyway.
Well, yeah.
Top points, top rebounds, top assists,
and he's
top steals.
He's half an assist short of averaging a triple double. Yeah. My concern is if you go into playoffs and could you imagine if they make the finals as the Western champions? Is it too much to ask of him to night in and night out carry this team? Because no offense to Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon and the likes, I just don't see them as a championship winning team. Ooh. I'd like to be wrong. I'd like to be wrong.
Time will tell.
Well, we've spoken
but they're
about
playing great basketball at this stage.
But we've spoken about this year as well. In that the Warriors are lagging. The Lakers, probably aren't going to be there.
I was going to ask you,
summertime,
who do you think's better in the
West? The Clippers have been underwhelming, really.
Yeah, well, that's the question. Who's better in the West at the moment? Because you got Grizzlies and Pelicans who have kind of jumped up. Yeah, it's 2 and 3.
Yeah,
Mavericks are playing better than they have in the past, but they're dependent on Luka. Kings up higher, Clippers up higher, and the Suns.
What's the beam me up? Yeah, beim me up. The Kings.
Since we abused them about
the Pelicans and the Kings.
It's good. I think it's good for the NBA. Yeah. We've spoken. So
the big teams in the West, being say the Suns, Warriors, and Lakers, are all kind of struggling at the moment. In that regards,
it's hard to pick, isn't it? And you look at that top 4. And they're so reliant on their number one man, aren't they? Maybe the caveat being the Pelicans. They've shown ability to play okay when Zion's not playing.
Well, I was going to say when Zion, he's back,
hurt again. He is, and that's hence their slide because the last podcast we had they were number 1 in the West. But that top 4 is so dependent, I think, on Jokic playing well for the Nugs, for Ja playing well for the Grizz, for Zion playing well for the Pelicans, and the Dallas Mavericks are Luka Doncic and his friends, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Having said that, Luka's gone into MVP favourite, and if there's anyone that's ever been able to...
Do you have the favourites up? Do you want to cover that quickly?
I think he's just put a nose ahead of Giannis and Jason Tatum.
Okay.
But if anyone has the capability to put a team on his back and just carry them, I think it's Luka.
Give us the top 5 from the names.
Yeah, so Luka's there at $4. Giannis is $4.33. Same with Joker at $4.33.
There you go.
Yep, and then Tatum's there at number 4 at $5, and then you've got KD rounding out the top 5 at 7. Yeah, and it kind of starts dropping off there. Yeah.
It's still kind of wide open for me as a fan. Not really much vested interest. You just see Luka just lighting things up night in, night out, and watch their Mavs games, and like he's just, I don't know, he's above and beyond.
Oh yeah,
I think anyone in the NBA at the moment.
Yeah, but he's not a big man doing triple-double averages.
That's also true. That is also true.
But then again, Joke's already won 2 MVPs on that kind of form.
But but priors shouldn't count into this year.
I know. But they like to change it up a little bit. It helps with building stars and
should be the numbers.
Well, actually, no, I'm wrong. It's the old timers that vote on this, so yes, they don't give a fuck.
It should be the numbers and the numbers alone.
Yes.
And perhaps performance of team. Do you think that comes into things as well?
Yeah, there's no point being the MVP if your team finishes last. So, yeah, agree. True. So that's probably why Joker has kind of that name. He's risen again back into the MVP conversation because they are, like you said, back at the top. And we'll have to see how it plays out. Lakers check.
Yeah, it's still
it's past Christmas.
Still pretty stinky. I think LeBron is having some kind of crazy interview tomorrow. Some people were saying
he's been up and down. Like he'd have a great game and then he'd play shocking and then a great game. They were playing pretty good with Anthony Davis, but I believe he's hurt.
Has been for a few weeks. He's got a right foot injury, and he actually landed on Joker and sort of did something there. It's not too serious. Should be back. Mid January, but definitely
games the Lakers don't want him missing at the moment.
Well, he's been so good.
Yeah, he's been a relief for them.
He was averaging like 27 and a half, 12 boards. He's shooting career high. Like he's been so good, and they're just not quite the same unit without him. They become very reliant on LeBron and Russ.
Yeah, and LeBron's not the LeBron of previous years to carry them into the playoffs, and that's why they're sitting there at 12th.
Middle of the pack, Suns have really dropped over the past month. They went under new owner, so Matt Ishbia bought him for just a casual $4 billion. He bought the Mercury as well there in Phoenix. So they're sliding. Be interesting to see, obviously on talent and have been, there or thereabouts the last few years. What they can do later in the year. The Blazers are also on a little bit of a slide. The Warriors sitting there in 9th again. Expect perhaps to climb up a little bit.
Yeah. I guess the concern is because we've kind of, we've talked in the past of let's see where they are at Christmas, where they are, and it's post-Christmas and they haven't really made it around.
They're leaving their run too late.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to have to win a lot of games in the back half of the season.
Steph's still out for a few more games as well, so that really puts a pressure on Clay and Jordan Poole and Draymond.
Agree.
Draymond got thrown out the other day, little tiff, unlike him. Out of character, really out of character.
Did he punch a teammate?
No, he didn't punch a teammate. It was much less involved in that. He was having a scuffle with an opposition player. So, but just doing what you're meant to do. The Jazz have fallen from grace after starting the season so well. The Timberwolves, I thought on paper, with that big 3 there and bringing in Gobert, I thought they might have done a bit better this year.
Yeah, I guess it kind of proves. Well, the question was, having all the big men, you're going to play all the big men at once? Is it really going to work? And so
too tall.
Yeah, it hasn't. Yeah, maybe they are too tall.
I can attest as a 6'5" white guy. Sometimes too tall, no bueno. You hit your head on shit, hard to buy jeans. Cock underwhelming for height.
That's your calves is a problem for buying jeans.
Calves, exactly. Yeah, anyone else?
Yeah, you just need those skinny leg ones, so they fit you fine.
That's it. I'm getting an implant. I'm dead set. My ego's taking that much of a fucking bruising from the man on my left here. About
I got plenty of extra here. You can take out of here and you put it in your calves if you want.
and I'll get slower.
Yeah, but you look good.
Carry more.
It's so squishy.
You look good doing it.
Isn't that how Kim K does it?
Whoa.
Allegedly.
Is this a sports podcast or Kim K? Anyways, Thunder, Spurs, Rockets. We talk about the bottom three in the East. I think this is the bottom three in the West.
Yeah.
Hate to say, Josh Giddey's been pretty good
yep.
recently, so love to see that out of an Aussie. But yeah, don't see them bothering anyone come June.
I think those three at the bottom there are probably out. Lakers are very close. They're on that precipice again, same as the Raptors were in the on the other side. So yeah, they need to start making a run.
Muggs, you got some NBA All-Star voting there. Can you run us through the leaders?
Yes. Yeah. So we'll stick with the West. At the moment.
And this is fans only, isn't it?
Fans,
I believe
yes.
so. Fans get 50%.
Or is it like the Pro Bowl where the fans voted heavily for someone and no one got in?
I think the way that it works in the NBA is the fans get 50%.
Yep.
The players and coaches or something get a quarter, and the media get a quarter.
Yep.
Is that how it works?
Yep. That's what it looks like.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
That's not too bad. I think for the Pro Bowl for the NFL it's less, like fan votes like 25 and then it's like 50 plus
interesting.
And then 25.
It's a popularity contest.
Yeah.
It's almost like you shouldn't run politics like that.
Yeah. But I guess
How should you run them?
This is sports podcast.
This is a sports podcast. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
No, yeah.
It's huge.
No, we're all for dictatorships here on the podcast. All-Star
All right,
votes.
can you dictate to us, please, who is the leaders in the West and the East?
I don't know if I'll dictate, but I'll try and get through it.
That's what it is, isn't it? Dictation is talk.
Yeah, true. I'm not great at
But
it.
you're asking James to talk, so there's a challenge.
We've got a week later.
All right. So sticking with the West. So
Just needs a bowl cut and he'll be sorted. Some nukes, maybe. Fire him over Japan.
He's alluding to Kim Jong. Can we run?
couldn't figure that one out.
Yeah, can we run plays through?
All right.
We've talked to Kim Kardashian, Kim Jong. Let's
We started with Kanye. It's your fault.
Oh, my fault. Jeez.
So sticking with the West, talking about our popularity contest, LeBron James front court is leading the fans vote with 3.1 mil.
A mil more than the Joker, essentially.
A mil more than Joker, who's coming in second at 2.2. Anthony Davis is sitting there at 2 mil. Zion Williams.
Williams' son. You both
Williams'
have done
son,
that.
jeez, I have.
Yeah. Son of Williams.
Son of William, yep. At 1.9 mil.
Then it goes into Wiggins, George, Martin, etc. So you think the front court has to come out of them, and with AD's injury, maybe a 3-horse race between LeBron, Joker, and Zion?
Possibly, yeah.
Are they picking teams again this year? Like they get
I don't know.
All-Stars get voted
They
in
change it fucking every year. It's you've seen the Pro Bowl this year was like going to be like games.
Yeah, it's tag football, I think, or like so they'll play a Oz tag like version of
Flag football.
Flag football. That's it. Yeah, yes, we're going.
You're right.
Guards,
yes. So still with the West. Obviously Steph Curry is going to be up there. 2.7 mil as number one. Then we've got Luka, 2.3 mil. And it drops off significantly from there with Ja sitting at 900.
I think this is
votes.
probably the one that makes the most sense. It has to be Steph and it has to be Luka. You know I love my man Ja. Bold prediction was going to be MVP. Probably not going to happen, but I think out of any...
Where's Ja play? Memphis?
Memphis, yeah.
Yeah, not the biggest market, I'm assuming.
Yeah, but they're second.
True, but like we're talking fan vote here. So
there's
a reason LeBron and the Lakers, LA, he's probably got the most votes out of everyone.
Popularity contest, Trump sucks.
Yes.
Oh, damn, I didn't say that. Delete.
Moving across to the East, so front court, we've got Kevin Durant is leading at 3.1 mil. Then we've got Giannis Greek Freak at 2.9, call it 3 mil there. Then Joel Embiid, 2.2. Jason Tatum, Jason Tatum, 2.1. Then drops
And
off
a big drop-off.
significantly with Jimmy Buckets at 400.
Now this is an interesting one because Tatum essentially could play as your two guard, but does he have to be a front court guy because he plays small forward in the NBA, or how does it work?
Well, kind of reverse to the West. The guards they've got pretty good guards there. So, yeah, not sure.
Run us through who's leading the guards.
Yeah, so we've got Kyrie leading the guards. They're at 200 mil. Behind
200?
him, 2 million. We'll give him a few more votes.
You asked him to dictate it. So.
Yeah, this is your fault.
Joe Biden, we've vaccinated over 450 million Americans. Joe, the population is 330.
Yeah. He did say over.
I have dementia.
Yeah. I'm an old man. Stop putting me in front of the microphone.
Yeah, let's talk about sport.
Sport. Donovan Mitchell, 1.6 mil, followed by James Harden at 1.1 mil, and Jaylen Brown sitting there at 1 mil, drops off a little bit with Trae Young, 790,000.
Yeah, so for me, this is where it's really up in the air because Kyrie probably deservedly should be the point in this. We spoke about Donovan fucking putting up 71 points during the week. Pretty hard to leave him out, but the way that Harden's been playing, the way that Trae Young's been playing on a team that has struggled a little bit, does that come into it? It's a little bit more interesting there.
Yeah.
Next fan update next week.
Yes,
So
12th of Jan.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
That'll do for the NBA for this week, which means we got to talk about the On The Esky final round. UFC 283, still just under a month away.
Yeah, 23rd, I think it is.
That's Volk Makachev, isn't it?
No, it's not with that.
Oh, that's 284.
That's 284. That's
Who's
the following one.
Who's 283?
Yeah, great question. I think they'll probably kick off the marketing for that very, very shortly.
That's Glover and Jamal Hill.
Yes,
and
Brazil.
Figgy and Moreno 4.
Yes, so it's in Brazil. So
we've spoken about this on the podcast before. Is it a quadrology?
I think it's both. Like it could be either or. The word is like the quadology. What was the other one? There was another one we've used, but they all mean the same thing. You can use it.
It's fourth matchup, which has never happened as a title fight. Hasn't happened at all
in the UFC. No one's fought each other 4 times, 3 times many a time.
Fourfold.
Yes,
that sounds no good.
No,
I don't think this. I'm looking at it right.
I think quadrology. Let's go with that.
Yeah. I've definitely. I remember we googled this and looked it up. But anyway, but outside of that, that's still 3 weeks away.
Yep.
So not a lot happening in the UFC. Jimmy, can you find in the boxing the result on that tank fight, whether it happened?
That was today. And I suppose the elephant in the
Davis
room.
and Garcia. But yeah, I guess the only real UFC news was over New Year's, Dana White slapping up his missus. He did cop one to start with, and then he's returned serve. But yeah, out a nightclub with his wife. I think they've been together
long time, isn't it?
16 to 20 years. They've got a couple of kids. They've been together for a long time. And so far, technically it's assault. It is a chargeable offence if you really want to.
Did she press charge?
Of course not. She also threw one first, so he could do it.
That's always what's got me undone on a footy field.
But it's just not a great look because Dana's a big dude.
Sure,
he's on the special secret sauce.
Allegedly,
definitely.
That Icarus documentary could have been about Dana.
He's yes, definitely probably on some sauce, but
allegedly
they'd been heavily drinking and they just obviously had a disagreement and got into it. Not a great look. No, so my point, no formal charges or anything like that. In Denver. Oh my God, in Denver. Fuck me, not in Denver.
In Denver, I was like, it happened in Colorado.
No,
altitude
Denver,
sickness,
no.
perhaps.
No, it didn't.
The cold weather.
I can't say it.
It won't bruise up so much.
Endeavour is the parent, is the company that owns the UFC now that they sold to.
Yes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So it hasn't been a formal statement, I believe, from them yet. They're discussing what they do because Dana doesn't own the UFC anymore. He sold out. He's now the CEO. He runs it.
So he's an employee.
Yeah. So when they sold it for billions of dollars, he made like $400 million, but he's now technically an employee. But he is still the face of the UFC. So
yeah, big time.
nothing, I think, official from them yet on whether what's going to happen there or not. But it'll be interesting times. But yes, Dana been a bit naughty over the holiday period. And yeah, him and his wife have got a few things to sort out.
Interesting, isn't it? Obviously, can't condone that behaviour, but the camera phone era, it changes things.
Yeah, well, probably in a nightclub shouldn't be hitting your missus. And, shouldn't be throwing hands back and forth between two of you. No. And
Jake Paul, what's going on with that fucking loser?
Well, if we switch into the boxing world,
actually, sorry, Jake Paul, I'll still fight you for $1 million.
Yeah. Did you get that boxing result yet?
Yes, Davis won in the 9th round.
Over Garcia.
TKO over Garcia.
So
he couldn't see.
Ooh.
Couldn't
Couldn't see?
see through his eyes, yeah.
Nice.
Oh, you don't see out of anything else, I guess.
I think he's... Is he unified? Yeah, is he unified now? I think he might have all the belts. So that's probably the biggest boxing match at the moment for world title contention. If you flip side, if we're talking the YouTube boxes, the two main stories out of that. So Jake Paul signed with PFL, which is maybe one FC is... Well, actually, no, it's probably Bellator, ONE FC, and then PFL. As the competitors to UFC. So Jake Paul signed with them, and he's called out Nate Diaz in his signing video promotion for PFL. Which interesting, he signed with PFL, which is mixed martial arts league, promotion.
So he's going to have to learn how to do grappling.
Yeah, and Diaz is great in jiu-jitsu.
So
the offer, I guess, for Diaz is let's have a boxing match soonish, in the next couple of months. And then 6 months later, we'll have a MMA match. So some chat about there. Ben Askren been asked questions like, hey, do you want to have a MMA fight now with Jake Paul, considering, he stanced you, but do you want to wrestle him for 15 minutes kind of thing?
Was he interested?
He was like, yes. But, my contract with UFC, I've kind of frozen. I am semi-retired. I don't really want to bother it. Plus, I got knocked the fuck out. So
yeah, but it's completely different arena.
I know, but for selling wise, Jake Paul's not going to do that. He's trying to make millions. And it's not a great look. And then on the other side, Dildo Danis has pulled out of his fight with KSI. Which he should be now known as for forever. A lot of people have gone in on him. Mike Bisman's video on going in on Dylan's been great. He hasn't fought in months and really kind of just been talking shit, having more, I guess, street fights, turning up to conferences and trying to smack people and build hype. But when push came to shove, he pulled out of this. So interesting. I think KSI had the Woodley fight, done deal. But the Dildo Danis, I'm just going to call him that. Dildo Danis fight was, came up and they had the history there with him and Jake. Jake and him had gone back and forth. So, the reason, we have these notes of Jake Paul and KSI, that's the history trajectory that we're trying to work towards is them coming eventually to a boxing fight eventually. But, they couldn't have a common opponent here for KSI. So on the other side, he's gone with FaZe Temper, who has fought on his Misfits cards multiple times.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Well, he's big on YouTube. He's got 2 mil subs. He's part of FaZe.
1.99 mil more than us.
Yeah. So he's part of the FaZe clan. Same as Calamari's in that kind of area. In that section of the YouTube as part of that FaZe brand.
So run me through it again. Not well versed in this section.
Yes.
So he's a YouTuber, but he can throw hands.
He's had 3 fights already on Misfits. Misfits is KSI's boxing promotion out of the UK for building up UK YouTube fighters. So Tempo's he's been on the card, I think, at least 3 times. He's had a couple of knockouts in there as well. He's a pretty tall man as well. His KSI is just under 6 foot at 5'11", whereas Temper's probably more your height, I think he's more like a 6'2", 6'3" guy. So
my height.
You're not quite there. You're 6'4"-ish in a bit, depending on where you point your nose. So
if my tiny calves can raise me up a little bit higher.
Yeah, well, we'll put some fat in them, and it might give you an extra inch of height as well. We'll add some another heels too. Do you have a height there, Jimmy? Looking at it,
6'4".
6'4". There you go.
So reach advantage.
Yeah, so he's going to be a much bigger guy than KSI reach size. So be interesting. I've saw some of the KSI stuff because Dylan's southpaw, so he's been practicing southpaw religiously, doing lots of rounds. He's in great shape. Was probably the reason why Dylan pulled out, because he was supposedly struggling with weight and struggling with training. So not a great way to go into a potential boxing match, and especially a big one sold out for these Misfits promotion cards that they do. So we'll have to see what it looks like. That's on the 14th of January, so that's
next
week away. So we'll see what happens there as a result. But yeah, that's probably the biggest news boxing-wise at the moment. So we'll see, KSI, big win here. Again, then he probably needs maybe that Woodley fight gets back on there. Good result there. Then we're talking Jake Paul, end of the year kind of conversation. We'll see. So I think by all accounts, the KSI Jake Paul fight should happen this year. That's, I think, the plan from both camps. So we'll see. And if not, if it doesn't happen, it's probably because one of these guys will get knocked out, which will be great viewing for everyone else.
There's been a lot of people just kind of waiting. I want one of these YouTube morons to cop one, but credit where credit's due. They've milked a kind of quiet period in boxing. If it wasn't for the heavyweights. Do
a search on KSI and get his rig up there for Pepe. He's for a guy, we say YouTube, but they're
legit.
They're legit taking it seriously.
And the Paul brothers, I know we joke, but I would not like to step in a ring with either of them.
Not at all. They've definitely been training the house down, getting into great shape. They've, maybe the technique is not where it is with the top world champions, but they're amateurs trying to learn that and putting that effort forward. So
Jake Paul's an interesting one because he's starting to get into the conversation of a legitimate boxer. Like if he wasn't in the YouTube realm and he was just purely a boxer, you'd be like, oh, that guy's actually not too bad.
Yes, agree. Interesting. There's been chat about Floyd wants to fight this year. There's probably a little bit of unfinished business between him and Jake Paul from the Logan fight. So there's options for Jake there to make fuckloads of money while building his boxing career. Do either of these guys ever fight for an actual world title? Maybe not these guys. I don't want to say that there will never be a YouTube star that kind of converts and through those promotions that they've built ends up becoming like a legitimate boxer. There's nothing to say that they won't find someone that has that talent. But
why would you?
Yeah, true.
If you've got millions of people watching you on YouTube, generally speaking, elite combat, like mixed martial artists,
fighting in general is not great for your health.
But not great for your health, but also the motivation. Yeah. You look at guys that are elite in the UFC. Not many of them are fucking coming out of wealth and silver spoons and the rest of it. Most of them come out of favelas and fucking broken families and the rest of it. Yeah,
a lot of motivation's a big part of it. But then, sometimes motivation comes from an ego spot and, some of these YouTubers, like the Paul brothers again, there's a lot of like alpha, egotistic part of it, which kind of then drives them, motivates them. So not all of them are like that, but there's definitely, there's different ways to be motivated, and these guys have got it. They've capitalized on it, making bucket loads of money, essentially in their spare time outside of the YouTube world. So, it's all power to them. Peps wants to fight. So hit us up in the DMs.
2 mil.
Yeah, easy done.
Inflation, no.
You suck cock for less, but anyway.
Not on the internet.
True.
All right, let's talk tennis and golf. The best segue in podcasting from fighting. to tennis and golf. The Australian Open, my favourite time of the year in terms of the tennis arena.
Yep.
Is in a week. Big news out of Spain with Carlos Alcaraz. Is he 19? Is he 20? He's pulled out with an injury. He's been lighting up the world in terms of his tennis ability, so he won't be here. However, Novak Djokovic, Daniil Medvedev and the other Russians will be here. So it's interesting, isn't it, the difference that a year makes? And people were
out in the country.
Well, people were dying on hills last year, weren't
Was it
they?
last year or the year before? I can't remember.
It was last year. It was last year. You know, he's not vaccinated. He's a piece of shit. Blah blah blah.
Actually, I think I saw with him and Kyrgios playing a doubles match together.
Who? Perhaps I did not see.
No, I
did not
think
see.
Not in the
Obviously-
Australian Open, like in a warm up event.
Yeah, I'm with you.
they were
Obviously,
playing-
tennis. Hands on hearts, not our forte.
I'll let him figure out if we're actually that was truth or not. But anyway,
It's I don't know. I think it's a bit interesting how fickle some of these rulings are. You know, in terms of a year. Obviously, it's a sports podcast, not a fucking politics podcast. But looking forward to what's going to happen in the Oz Open. We saw the Demon, Alex de Minaur, beating Nadal this week. So can he continue that form through? How's Nick Kyrgios going to go, you know, after making a Wimbledon final this year? And, you know, we talk about egos and how that plays into things. How will he perform, you know, given all the scrutiny and media pressure that he gets, and obviously all the talent in the world, and how's a women's ladies tournament going to look without Ash Barty, who announced this week that she's expecting expecting a little one, little tennis shoes there on her Insta. So congrats to the Barty family, and hopefully everything runs smoothly there. But it kind of has a bit more of a feel about it, I suppose, this year with a few of those big dogs being back. Obviously, Alcaraz is going to be a star in the future, but he's not quite there yet. And you know, hopefully he recovers well from this injury. But it feels like, you know, with Djokovic back, and obviously Medvedev was here last year, but didn't play throughout a lot of the Grand Slams last year, you know, due to things completely out of his control. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And golf is back, baby. The PGA is back after you know, close to a month.
Who cares about the PGA? It's with where's Liv?
Where's Liv Golf? Adelaide, Liv Golf. Cam Smith, let's go. But they're in Hawaii. I think Colin Morikawa was playing very well last I saw. Those courses look elite. Boys trip one day, $500 green fees. Might need to work that out.
Yes. We're going to
figure it out.
Yeah. I think that'll do us.
Did you get that answer?
Yeah.
Jimmy?
On the tennis, yeah. So Kyrgios dropped some sort of image or hint post on Instagram about wanting to play doubles with him, with Novak, but I think they're talking about doing some sort of exhibition match leading into the Open, because Kyrgios has pulled out of the last couple of events.
So funny. Like, obviously, these guys are, you know, they're all mates essentially, and but with the whole vaccine thing and Novak hosting tournaments where everyone got COVID, and Nick was quite outspoken in terms of being critical of that.
Well, Joke is also the Player Association president, wasn't he?
Well, I wonder how much do they say on Twitter is just, you know, for the masses. And
they're burying the hatchet publicly, and then,
you
know, they still want to beat each other on the court. They're still wanting to win this bloody tournament. Like, they want to be champion. So, it's perfect timing. Like, it's a week before the Australian Open. It's got everyone talking about it. It's great press. So, yeah.
Would love to have you on the Esky and mediate, you know, a little conversation between you guys.
You can come on the Esky and go off on Joker. We'd be happy for it.
I would probably bitch it. I say, no, that's so nice to meet you. Do you speak 4 languages, do you? Oh, can we talk about your career? All right, boys, that will do us. Happy 2023. We're back, baby. Let's hope that everyone has a great 2023. 2020, pretty dud. 2021, confusing. 22, getting there. getting there. A few personal accomplishments. Let's hope that 2023 bodes well for everyone that's tuned in. Whether you're on the tools back this week or still sitting on your ass and
sitting on the dunny.
You're probably not listening to us if that's the case. But thank you to anyone that's this deep in the potty. We will see you next week. I believe. And we'll talk NFL playoffs. We'll talk the first week of the Australian Open, and the usual sort of jibber jabber that pertains to this podcast.
That's it.
Righto. Thanks, lads. We'll see you next week.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.